Howdy, ho, 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 my good humans. Coming to you today with a shitstorm has been a brewing, and we have a lot to get into today, so I'm gonna keep this intro short. This is Unnecessary Rambling. I'm Brandon Sylvia. I'm joined by Loon. Loon, how you feeling this week, my brother?
Been like pick the wrong side. Um, Jesus Christ. So yeah, as you said, it's a lot to get into. Like, and the more we dig, somehow there's more to be found, and that's the baffling part about it.
Indeed. Yeah. So I guess we should go ahead and jump straight into it. Microsoft closed Tango Gameworks and Arcane Austin, which and they, two other studios as well. I'll read because this is how I'll kind of hit it how it hit me. I wake up, what was this, May 7th. I see this
On my
tweet.
birthday.
Really? Oh, happy
Yeah,
belated,
what a
brother.
present.
Oh man. Um, so Jason Schreier tweets out breaking. Xbox is shutting down Arcane Austin, Tango Gameworks, and two other studios. Story hitting Bloomberg shortly. And then he says the other shuttered subsidiaries are Alpha Dog Studios and Roundhouse Games, which will merge with ZeniMax Online Studios. So obviously, all of you know that Tango created Hi-Fi Rush last year, one of the most critically acclaimed games of the year. It was in my top 10 favorite games of the year. They created my favorite game of the year in 2014 with The Evil Within 1. They created my game of the generation, or second favorite game of the generation with The Evil Within 2. They created a game I really thought was pretty solid with Ghostwire Tokyo. I think they've never made even anything close to a bad game. Um, just it's so Arcane Austin, okay, sure. I mean, I don't think people give enough credit for Arcane Austin because I mean they did co-develop Dishonored 1 and like we're directly alongside Arcane Leon, who, Arcane Leon is the Deathloop team and Dishonored 2 and now going on to work on Blade. So Arcane Leon is still untouched for the time being. And but Arcane Austin, created Prey, a game a lot of people consider one of the most underrated games of the past generation as well.
It's it's my favorite of the bunch. Like I hold that higher than Dishonored 1 and 2, and I've still never touched Deathloop. I won't lie. It just doesn't kind of grip me.
Yeah.
But Prey was, Jesus, that was incredible. And it was even more incredible because it had, I don't know if you felt the same way, it had no like expectation build up with it either. I
At
think that's
all.
also why it kind of flew under the radar and stuff. It was a property that I think it had a 360 game
Yep.
and it was like a rebranded thing. I think wasn't it originally they did the 360 game and then it was going to be that bounty hunter game where they were walking through the city and then they revamped the whole game and then it became what Prey 2016 was, if I'm
I
not
didn't know that.
mistaken. I'm fairly certain, yeah, uh yeah, I think so. Because it
Yeah.
was one of the big like it always hits lists of like the games that never
Mm.
came to be and stuff like that. And it was all I remember seeing the trailer of the guy walking through like the sci-fi streets and stuff and he spots somebody and he starts running and jetpacking through the thing. It looked really good. So when they turned around and was like, "This is what Prey is," it was like, I don't remember that being what that was, but okay. But it was
Yeah.
obviously they redid the whole thing.
Yeah, so it's just it's a shit show across the board. And unfortunately, the shit didn't stop showing with that. The shit continued to pour down in just an abundance of septic, awful
It's like the
garbage.
Saints Row 2 special mission where you go around with that septic tank. It was just coating people's houses. They just
Yeah.
couldn't help themselves.
So this is the email that Matt Booty sent out. I just cut down to the brief kind of synopsis. Today, I'm sharing changes we are making to Bethesda and ZeniMax teams. These teams These changes are grounded in prioritizing high impact titles and further investing in Bethesda's portfolio of blockbuster games and beloved worlds, which you have nurtured over many decades. To double down on these franchises and invest to build new ones requires us to look across the business to identify the opportunities that are best positioned for success. This reprioritization of titles and resources means a few teams will be realigned to others, and that some of our colleagues will be leaving us. So, I mean, Fallout was a huge success, and it feels like they're scrambling to figure out any way to do the whole Call of Duty sweatshop and put a bunch of teams on big franchises. And yeah, so more Fallout, more Elder Scrolls, more Call of Duty, less Hi-Fi Rush, less Evil Within, less Prey. Yeah, fuck that future.
Yeah, especially when you find out in the UK, April's top selling game was Fallout. Fallout 4, to be precise, I should say. Um, and obviously with Todd coming out a few times now and being like, nah, it's nowhere near on like the horizon, blah blah blah. We're working on the Elder Scrolls first. They really are just like, we need to capitalize on this. It this knee-jerk reaction of like scrambling has been what Xbox has been doing constantly
Yes.
since I would say the announcement of the 360 Connect is where they felt like they were completely just fucking delusional. They just didn't know what to do. They were on cloud nine and then they just shot themselves constantly. And they've just been doing that ever since. And they just get these tiny little wins where they start to climb up. And we're like, oh, well, the backwards compatibility program, that was good. And then they can't help themselves by doing some big, stupid mistake. And then they just never make consistent progress. Because we were saying, I think I messaged it to you yesterday. Like last year, the showcases were good.
Oh my
And it
God,
felt
were
like
they?
maybe they were finally getting this shit together and that this was going to be, they start pumping out games consistently and they start winning people back. And this is why I've always been hesitant as to put so much emphasis on awards because they don't mean anything, really. They really don't because you look at Hi-Fi Rush, it won so many things and was so critically acclaimed, and it's meaningless to them. They don't care. The award, if it's not the only statistic they care about is sales. That is it. How much
Well,
money this thing made.
how about this one, Loon? A day after Tango Gameworks is closed, Matt Booty holds a town hall meeting and he says, we need smaller games that give us prestige and awards. Da-doom-doom. Tsh. You only had one for almost this entire generation was Hi-Fi Rush, was
Yep.
Tango Gameworks, and you shuttered
Pentiment
them.
just won a Peabody Award, I think, as well. And
Yeah.
people were scrambling over to their Twitter and being like, "Oh my God, don't shut down these guys! Don't close these down. They won an award, guys." And it's just like, and this is what I mean. Like, awards don't hold anywhere near as much weight as they used to. You used to like plaster them on the like front cover of boxes, and that's when you knew that when you were looking through and you saw, game of the year, this. It had a little bit more impact, but nobody cared because they just placed them at like the front of trailers now. And nobody pays attention to that. They just care about the gameplay and stuff, and then it's just like, okay, cool.
The only example I would use though is Control. Control was a flop, and then after it got nominated for Game of the Year, it exploded in sales in 2019. And so it has a little bit more impact than we might give it credit for. But of course, yeah, it doesn't. It's not. And this there's so many threads to pull at here, but sales are number one.
Yep.
Sales, not Game
And
Pass subscriptions. Sales.
I should have clarified that for these big publishers and stuff like for Microsoft and Sony, they don't particularly care. For the smaller like lower, because you think of like Larian and stuff, like they were already doing really well, then they won the Game of the Year and it propelled them even further. So for these people who haven't been gobbled up, these awards are very, very, very important to them because
But
it keeps them in the spotlight a little bit longer and it sheds light on it and stuff. But you just, like you said, the Hi-Fi won it and it was meaningless. It didn't matter what it won. They were doomed regardless.
But it's like, why say that then? You know what I mean? Why say that? Why do y'all talk so much? Why say we need smaller games that give us prestige and awards and then kill the only studio that gave you that? Like you just y'all talk they talk in fucking circles. It is, just shit spewing out of both sides of the mouth. And nothing ever adds up to anything that makes any sense whatsoever. It is baffling, dude. I mean, you can make a real argument that Tango was their best studio, period. Like in terms of quality, best studio, period. Consistency and quality. I mean, because that's another thing. There's so many threads, but like they rarely get out games. And then they get this one team who constantly churns and burns. Ghostwire 2022, Hi-Fi 2023. Like back to back big, big enough games that are great for Game Pass. But we're now realizing Game Pass is being fucking punted. That means nothing to here's the thing. That was Phil Spencer's vision. Microsoft saw those Call of Duty numbers. They have a total different vision now. Total different vision. This because for Game Pass, Hi-Fi Rush is the perfect Game Pass game. You have to have content in there that will keep people subscribed. Not everything is going to get someone to subscribe, but what will keep people subscribed. Hi-Fi Rush is that style of game. That's that perfect style of game where, yeah, I'm not going to pay for Hi-Fi Rush $60, but I'll subscribe for 15 to check it out. I'll stay subscribed an extra month to check it out. Oh man, it's infuriating.
It really is a joke, honestly.
It's like
Um, go
I
on.
just, yeah, I don't really understand the vision. It really bothers me. I do not understand the vision because I'm guessing clear as day there's a divide between the Microsoft people and the Xbox people. But we don't know who the hell is who. Or is the snake, has the damn serpent gobbled up all the I don't even know what I'm running down an analogy here that I'll never be able to come back from. But are they all the snakeheads of Microsoft at this
I
point?
don't I don't think that's I think more realistically, the way I'm looking at it, obviously you have the CEO heads, which are absolutely fucking clueless as to what goes on. But what this more rings like to me personally is watching like what Square Enix was doing from like 2002 to like 2013, where they had no idea what was going on. Like they had all of this talent, all of this good stuff, and there was no communication. There was no driving head where it was like, I'm in the steering wheel and then I will direct you to do this. They seem so clueless. They have all of these studios, yet none of them are hitting deadlines. They're constantly going back and revamping stuff because whatever reason, what is it? Everwild was one of the games that was announced, for instance. That's been completely redone. Fable was completely redone.
Perfect Dark.
Perfect Dark is has not been announced that it's been redone, but it's probably going to be very soon because it's nothing's happened with it. And it's just like you have all of these studios, you should be consistently getting out 2 to 3 games a year. Maybe one, maybe not once each quarter, but like almost on that caliber. And they are not doing that at all. They are they are dropping very, very, very scarcely, or they'll drop a few at once and stuff, and it's just like it's it lacks leadership and it lacks structure, is what it is. And like you said, you don't know who is to fully blame because it has to be as well. Like you said, the conflict of vision. Phil
Has to be.
Spencer was fully putting all of his eggs into the Game Pass thing because he's looked at Netflix and was like, well, we'll just adapt that into games and stuff. And they were like, oh, okay, cool. And they started seeing all these numbers, Microsoft, and they were like, oh, well, that's pretty good. And then they were like, okay, we need somebody to bolster that service. And then they picked up Activision Blizzard, and then they were shown what actual big dog profit margins are for the first time in decades. And they were like, well, okay, well, why are you not doing this with everything else? And this is why there's a big divide in there, and they're going down this mobile market and looking to just make everything a cash cow, shutting down Tango to then relocate staff and stuff to bolster ZeniMax Online, for instance. That's an MMO, is what they do. They do the Elder Scrolls Online. They're just looking to just bolster live service.
Yeah. It's and to piggyback off your point, it says here The Verge is reporting Xbox executives have been debating for months whether or not to put Call of Duty on Game Pass because of how much revenue will be lost. Also, discussions happening internally about potentially increasing Game Pass prices. So, yeah, it's
That's gonna happen without a doubt. Come November, that'll be up a few more dollars a month.
I do think Call of Duty is going to go to Game Pass because I don't think they would have a full showcase dedicated to it if it wasn't going to go to Game Pass. But clearly, the Game Pass pursuit for for at least for Microsoft's point of view, it was it's not panning out. It's just not panning out. And we knew that they were trying to hit for whatever 50 mil or 100 mil for their subscription service for Game Pass. It's flat. If it's going down, if anything, there's I've never believed in this vision. I love it. I fucking will never, ever, ever unsubscribe because as a consumer, I totally believe in it. Like I totally believe that I definitely know I love Blockbuster. I definitely know I love Game Pass. I love having that option. But as a business, I've never believed in it. People just don't consume games like they consume television and movies. They just don't. Most people, a study came out recently. Most people play 5 to 6 games a year and they recycle those same games the next year and the year like dude, this just does not work on 100 million person scale. It just doesn't. It won't. It'll never happen. They can throw Call of Duty in there. It will not grow to the level that they're thinking it's going to grow. Like I I don't know how you couldn't see this coming. And if your vision was for Game Pass to get to 100 million subscribers, which is just so stupid. But if that was your vision, like it wouldn't the main thing be go grab those games, go grab the Grand Theft Auto, the new Grand Theft Auto, the new Call of Duty, the new whatever the Fortnite successor is going to be, and just have those in Game Pass, like just a few humongous titles in game, because like that's to get 100 million people, those are the only games that you're going to actually go after for those type of numbers. These hi-fi rushes and all that shit, I love them. That's what I'm in Game Pass for. But 99% of people don't give a fuck about Little Kitty Big City.
They don't care about that. They don't care about Pentiment. That isn't
No.
moving the needle. That's probably hurt the needle, if anything. No one cares about Hi-Fi Rush for the the main bulk of your subscription base. They just don't. And like you said, maybe when they announce call, there will be an increase. There's no doubt about that. I don't doubt, but you're not going to get that margin. That margin
No.
was ridiculously stupid to have set in the first place. Again, drawing comparisons back, you're doing the Square Enix thing. Your goals are so stupid and so unrealistic. Keep it in the realms of possibility, for Christ's sake. What you should be doing is aiming for get your hardware up. For Christ, get an install base. That's what you need, and then people will stay in that install base. But every single time they've done it, it just doesn't seem to do anything. And all these acquisitions and stuff, it's not helping them. They've gone out and done this Activision Blizzard thing, and their best studios have suffered for it. And that shouldn't have been the case. This vision should have been, the Call of Duty money should have been giving them stability to keep making these games. There shouldn't be a punishment. It should have been, we've gathered this. This is an absolute cash cow. This will keep you guys in a job and just make whatever you want. But that's just not the realistic situation either.
And and you said that it should be helping them. And that the funny thing is it's helping them, it's hurting us. The Call of Duty money, like they've never seen anything like this in their life over in terms of their Xbox division. Obviously, Microsoft has seen more money than anybody, and that's the other thing that's so fucking crazy is like you shutter Tango. What the hell? What is that like 0.0000002% of Microsoft's annual earning? Yeah, like that's not even a you would they probably fucking sneeze. The executive probably in the time it takes the executive to sneeze, that's probably the entire year of Tango's fucking
Uh,
annual
the
earning.
age-old adage of Bill Gates drops $100 bill on the ground, and by the time he picks it up, he's already made that back. So in his mind, that he could just forget about it and just walk away from it. It doesn't do anything for him.
100%. Yeah, and that's the thing here. I have the Matt Piscatella tweet from the MPD, or formerly known as the MPD, now Circana. He says, let's see. He tweeted June 7th, 2023, growth of video game subscription spending has stalled, according to Circana's Games Market Dynamics reporting. April 23 sub spending in the US was only 2% higher than April 2022. And then just a couple days ago on May 7th, he tweeted, and it stalled. Let's see. Oh, and it still stalled. March 2024 non-mobile video game subscription spending was only up 1% versus April 2023. 1% in a year, up 1%. I mean, dude, this Call of Duty's going to go to Game Pass, and that number of 30 million might climb up to 35, 40. Maybe, maybe. Most people are playing Call of Duty on their PlayStation, are playing Call of Duty. I guess you can get it on PC, but
Yeah, it'll
I
be mainly on PC, to be honest. It's got a massive, massive install base on PC.
well, no, I'm saying I guess you
Um,
can get Game Pass on PC, but like I would imagine that
oh yeah,
the majority of PC players are gonna fucking play just buy the game because it's cheaper. That's the one game they buy. That's the thing that doesn't make sense to me. It's the Call of Duty is like a one game per year thing for people. It's $70. They play it 12 months until the next Call of Duty comes out. That is cheaper than fucking Game Pass. Like,
uh, yeah. The only obviously it just preys on the people that want the little instead of forking up the 17. It's more palatable to divide it up each month. But
use PayPal.
yeah, there you go. That's the solution. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's it's there's so many threads and there's so many things to poke at, and then you look at it and you're like, I really don't. I don't want to be in Phil Spencer's shoes or that Sarah Bond woman's shoes because how the hell do you fix this now? How do you actually get out of this? It's it's so rotten to the core, and even the outer shell now. Like, what is there worth saving? Like yeah, like as an Xbox, it generates money, sure, but they've poured so much in and got so little out in return so far. How long until Microsoft just look at it and are like, well, why? Why not just turn into a storefront?
Totally. Absolutely. And I mean, Yeah.
And it feels like they're very much flirting with that, with the announcement of what was it called? I don't think it's
They're
got like an official name. The mobile gaming store that they're doing, which will be releasing in July. So it's very quick, is coming out. And they've gone down the route of making sure that it's a web-based service so that they don't have to give a cut to like Apple or Android and stuff like that. They can just get past all of the loopholes and all of the red tape that prevented them because they've already reached out a few times and also looked at other companies and stuff. You know, you had Epic battling with Apple over in-game purchases and stuff, so they've just gone, well, we'll just go above everybody else and offer it for a web-based service. And people are saying that perhaps it's the early stages of them going into like a handheld market, maybe, because all of their recent updates and stuff that have been like big, massive updates have been PC related, but on a small screen, moving that to handheld and making it much more accessible, much more easier to use and stuff. So the future really doesn't look too bright for the traditional two console system and whatever Nintendo does.
yeah.
It really doesn't.
I mean, Nintendo's great. Nintendo just had record-breaking fucking profits this generation. Nintendo's A-okay. Truly shows that this is still a viable market if you're not a fucking idiot.
Yep.
And I shouldn't say that because I mean, there's people there who are a whole hell of a lot smarter than I am running. I ain't gonna lie. I'm pretty pissed about this. I'm pretty pissed about this. And honestly, what really pissed me off more than anything is what you're alluding to, the Sarah Bond interview. Um, and this really isn't even I'm not
Oh,
what she said or anything wasn't necessarily, well, it was what pissed me off, but the fact that she was even speaking
she
at
was,
this
yeah.
thing.
The reason there was even an interview at all, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
Just
and
simple as that.
well, and
Just
drag Phil and Matt Booty's fucking, two-faced ass out there. What she wasn't the one that was making these executive decisions. They just promoted her to president of Xbox what last year? This was Phil Spencer's dream, with the whole Game Pass vision that's totally crumbling. This was Matt Booty's, head of Xbox first party studios. This is them. So, like, what do they have to say about this
fuck
shit?
all. Fuck all, because they did it at the beginning of the year, remember? They had them all lined up there, and none of them said jack shit.
Right? They never
We were
say
saying
anything.
this we were saying the same thing now as we were saying back then. What was the point of that? Because everybody
Man,
was in meltdown saying that they're going to close down, and they didn't say a fucking single thing damaging further their brand and their how people view them, which is already in the dirt. So you're getting down to the fucking molten core of the earth now at this point. And they said jack shit then, and she said absolutely nothing now. And
nothing.
what I said to you yesterday was stop trying to appear as if it's friendly and you actually value. You're a fucking company. You're a business and you're a company. You're a corporation. Sony just got in deep shit for what they were trying to pull with Helldivers. What did they do? They just posted a little writing on Twitter. Just handle it like that. Nobody expected the head of PlayStation to come out and skewer himself in front of you. Well, it just no, that's just how you handle it because they're not trying to breach a connection like
No.
Xbox is. It's
Gross.
unnatural and
Yeah.
it doesn't feel right.
It's
They always
fucking
try to appear as the family and stuff like that, and they put that. It's just not. You don't give a shit about that. Just keep it as a corporation and a consumer.
Microsoft owns you. You have no soul. Like, and I don't even mean I don't mean the individual people, but I just mean like this brand. It that you got like and I'm not once again not directing this at the people, but The start of Xbox was them going to Nintendo and trying to buy them. This is a soulless brand. It's a soulless trillion-dollar corporation who had a toy in the attic that now went and got Call of Duty, and that toy in the attic is now being drugged the fuck downstairs and re-examined. Do we need to throw this toy in the fucking garbage because now we have something that actually makes money and we go, "Oh wow, this is the money that can be in this industry?" Well, the toy in the attic is about to get fucking punted.
I I can't remember, and this is kind of bad to report on something like this, but there was a screenshot of an email that Phil sent to somebody in Xbox or Microsoft or whatever, and you could just tell how clueless this other person was because they were talking about like, Fortnite being a small game and stuff like that, and just having no idea what is going on, and Phil's having to like come back and reiterate and be like, no, this is like a you don't get like they were trying to underplay it as if like every game is a Fortnite. They should be earning that much money, and it's like no, you don't understand like how rare like a lightning in a bottle this is. Like this isn't a niche thing. This is fucking huge. Like we can't treat everything like that because it's not sustainable. So it's these higher ups that put their foot down that have no idea how anything is even run. They just base everything off of numbers because that's all they know. They're not in on the base level like everybody else is, where they see these things happening. So now that they've seen Call of Duty make them numbers, they've probably lined out all of their portfolio and been like, well, why isn't this what's a Ghostwire Tokyo? Why isn't that making $500 million every month and stuff like that? We'll cut that. That's that's that. That's that. That's that. So what it feels like is they've probably pulled Xbox into this room, lined out all that portfolio, and been like, you need to choose 5 people to cut right now. Five studios get cut, and next year, if we're in the same position, 5 more get cut.
Oh
And
my
next year,
God.
if we're in this position, 5 more get cut until you're left with, you know, free studios that just make money, and then they're like, okay, well that's it.
Yeah. And then one day those studios won't. The hot thing will never be the hot thing forever. Fortnite is an anomaly. You look at all the other ones, Overwatch, where is it now? That was the hottest thing in the world in 2016 or 2017. I think it was 2016. Um,
Yeah,
you
2015, 2016, it exploded and then fizzled out. You had PUBG that took the world by storm in 2017, fucking boomed and then fizzled out.
yeah, Grand Theft Auto.
Fortnite kind of picked up the mantle. And the reason that that is the only thing that's never lost traction is because it did 2 things. It targeted kids, and there's always going to be kids. This is why Minecraft is still around. It targeted kids, and then to double down on that, it pulled in everything from everyone. So it's always relevant. Look at what other game can you say that has announced a new Star Wars trailer or a new Marvels thing or a massive music artist performing live and stuff like that? It just doesn't happen, and that is it. It's an anomaly. You can't make another one of them because that player base is so rooted in there. That is it. As you said, the only other games that make that kind of money is a Call of Duty that are like trailing behind it big time, or whatever Rockstar puts up. But Rockstar, even if they went and bought Rockstar, they would probably run that into the ground as well
They
because they
would.
have no idea. They have no idea how to sustain something over a long period of time.
Yeah. They would.
They
They'd.
they suffer they suffer from the thing of burning bright and fizzling out. Like Halo Infinite was really, really hot for about 2 weeks. And then it was just like, okay, well, there's fuck all to do in the end. The campaign's pretty whack. It doesn't even have a co-op. It's missing core features, and the multiplayer is extremely bare bones. And like, what's the point of sticking around here? I'll just go back to these other things that have tons more content and they have content coming in on a weekly basis. So, yeah.
Dude, if you're a independent studio, and you know what? I was gonna say avoid acquisition at all costs, but really no. Here's what you do. And here's what you do. Like I have some fucking insight. Don't listen to anything I say. But here's kind of the way I really hope to see this go at this point. If you're a big ass corporation and you're gobbling up shit, I really hope that we see a lot more of these Shinji Mikami situations, a lot more of these there was another
Take the
one that
money and run.
take the money and run. Sell, get a fucking bag from those corpse and leave them motherfuckers with a corpse. Leave them with nothing. Leave them with the IP that they can figure out how to create something new out of. And that's the thing. Hi-Fi Rush is coming to the Switch too. They're gonna continue to push this thing. I would not be surprised if we had an animated television show. They stole the soul from a studio and are now gonna try to profit off of the creation. And I really hope that it fucking bombs. Like I I hate to say that because it's like I don't know, man. I'm dude.
They fucked everybody out of their livelihood that was a part of that project. It's why Shinji Mikami took up and left when he did. If it, this is the thing that people like, they always post these announcements online, like, "Oh, I'm very happy where I've left it. It's in good hands and stuff there." You never leave a project if you're invested in it. That just doesn't happen. When have you ever seen Steven Spielberg directing a movie and then three-quarters of the way through going, "I'm happy with what I've done. It's in good hands. I'll give it to that." It doesn't have. It's only the games industry that this fucking happens because they get squeezed for everything. They get controlled so much more, and they just think, well, why am I doing it? I'll just go. I've got money because I'm a big head. I'll take the severance package payoff and I'll just go and do my own thing because I'm sick of every single thing that I bring forward has to go through seven different departments to get confirmed and is allowed in the game.
yeah. It's I know I'm like really, really, really negative, but you got to understand how much I love the Evil Within. Like I know that this is a very selfish thing to say, but like the fact that the Evil Within 3 is now impossible. Well, I get it's not impossible. They'll probably fucking find some, external team to build like a
I
gotcha
don't even think
version
they
of it.
will. They would have done that by now. This is the thing that fucking annoys me as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's but that's the thing is like now that I know my favorite, one of my favorite games of all time is not going to get a sequel or a follow-up, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's just it, because we have these layoffs nonstop, and it's so depressing to just constantly bring up because every single week we would be
Yeah.
bringing it up, talking about it, and that would be like, and we do cover it, here and there, like the uh, Take Two with Roll Seven and that Seattle team, I forget the name of. But we talk about that stuff, but it's like this is happening nonstop in the games industry. It's not just Microsoft, but like this one in particular, it is particularly just gross, if that makes sense, because it's coming after a team who released one of the best games of last year. Like it just it doesn't really it doesn't add up to me at all. And I understand why it doesn't add up because I don't get to see fucking Game Pass numbers. If they actually shared that with us, if they actually shared financial breakdowns and shit, then it would totally add up because it's
I
all
don't think
fucking
it.
smoke and mirrors.
I don't even think it would though, because you would look at it and you'd be like, "Well, you're technically turning a profit."
They're not profiting off
Like,
Game Pass.
I, uh, I
I
think they are.
guarantee it.
I think they're just not profiting nowhere near the amount. Like the margins will be very, very slim. Is my viewpoint on it. It's always the thing. It's the thing of looking at it and being like, "Well, it's not hitting these numbers," because they constantly raise the bar. This is the thing. They can skew it to make it look like they're not making enough money because They've artificially inflated what they should be getting year on year on. They never settle for just okay, well that's profit, 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 massive profit. And then when you get that massive profit, it's like okay, well that's the new bar. They can hit one year where they do really, really well, and then that's it. That's you need to be hitting that every single year, otherwise you're a failure. And
Yeah.
yeah, so no, it pisses me off as well because I never had an attachment to like Resident Evil like the way that you did until like the remakes. The Evil Within 2 was like probably the first like horror game where I was like, this is fucking amazing. Because the majority of them were all like running and hiding and stuff like Amnesia and Outlast, and they just never really clicked to me. And it was just like, man, Bethesda as a like a company can make really good fucking games. Like that they made like the Wolfenstein games in that time, completely blowing them out of the water, and then the Evil Within showing that it is possible to challenge Capcom with Resident Evil. They're not untouchable. And then we just, yeah, this what you're feeling now is what I felt when they announced Avowed, knowing that there's never going to be a Pillars 3 that's been sacrificed in the altar of Microsoft, and it's been for something else. The difference is that they've not replaced that with anything. They've fucked that studio even harder than they did Obsidian, and they're not even letting them do something else. It's just okay. Well, they no longer exist now.
Well, and it's like, what's going to
So
happen with Obsidian? They're releasing a game in that universe. Like, unless they are so far removed from that universe with Avowed, then like, are they expecting Avowed to be a huge hit? That seems crazy to me. Are you expecting Hellblade 2 to be a huge hit? Are you joking? Like I'm not, and I'm this isn't me being just I love the Outer Worlds. I love
a lot
Enslaved
of people
Odyssey to the
didn't,
West. And oh, the Outer
crazily
Worlds
enough.
is fucking ruled to me, man. But like that game has way more potential than Avowed. It's a brand new IP, not attached to anything, and you even admit it. It's attached to a franchise that doesn't sell. So it's like
Didn't turn a profit in like 8 years.
it's crazy, man.
So the only thing I can think of is that they're hoping that the Elder Scrolls portion of Bethesda's fans will just gobble it up because they're looking at it like, okay, they hold Obsidian in such high regard that they made the best Fallout game. So give them a fantasy setting, and then that can be the equivalent of a best Elder Scrolls game. The thing is that they're being tone deaf to a lot of, like you said, you enjoyed the Outer Worlds and stuff. A lot of people, don't get me wrong, I think I'm in the same boat as this. It was a really good game, but it was way too safe. Way too safe. It was probably the most polished Obsidian game they've ever put out, but it felt like it took very, very little risk.
Yeah.
So it's why I'm worried about Avowed because it's just like if it's going to be on the level of that, there were a lot of people that grumbled about the Outer Worlds, and you're putting, and then if they bomb this, that are they next on the chopping block?
That's what I'm
Because
saying.
maybe we're just delusional. I wouldn't have ever thought Tango would shut down because of the quality that they pump out. It was just like, well, they're a safe like lock, like Arcane Austin. It made sense when I read it. When I was reading through it, it's just like, okay, yeah, they really, really dropped the ball with Redfall and stuff. But like Tango, it just they they were the best quality team they had
Yeah.
at pumping stuff. There was no bugs in their games, no glitches, nothing. No, everything worked day one out the box as it should be, and that doesn't get enough credit. But you're keeping these teams around that don't work. Fucking Fallout just put out a next gen patch and it broke the game. For fuck's sake,
Well, dude, and that's the thing
like
that
baffling.
you brought up a second ago about Redfall about how Arcane Austin dropped the ball. Bethesda dropped the ball. Microsoft dropped
Mm,
the ball, because that's not the game they wanted to make. There were even reports that the studio wanted it to be canceled, that
yeah,
Arcane Austin wanted it to be canceled. And they followed through because they were like, no, you're far enough along. So it's like you made the decision to keep them on that cycle whenever they did not even want to make the game. So you had some belief in it, and then it didn't pan out. And then it was reported that that they were internally pitching like a new, I have it wrote
Dishonored
down here. Yeah, like a
kind
new
of game.
Dishonored immersive sim
Yeah.
style game. And so it's like you don't even give them one chance. The team
I
that
don't
co
think they I don't think they wanted them around. This is a thing where they they play dumb in some scenarios and are dumb in other scenarios. This really felt like for Arcane Austin, the writing was on the wall. They knew that they were going to shut the studio because they knew that they were going to have to cut costs somewhere. So they were like, if we just keep them on this project, which we know there's no way you walk in as Phil Spencer and play a build of that game as because he has to go and touch everything and have a look and see what's functioning. You play 10 minutes of that and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like you just know it's going to be bad. So they kept them on it and we're just like, well, this will be the one of the teams we cut then. This has to be it. Because it will be easy because then even the people who are the fans will at least understand that. But this is what we get back to of like, why the fuck Tango, man?
the
Not to throw
millisecond
Double Fine under the bus. They don't like why are they untouchable? Like it of
343.
all the yeah, all these other studios, like I'm sorry, Tim Schafer's a great guy and he creates great stuff, but that team isn't gonna sustain you if your only fault is growth. He put out Psychonauts 2 in what a few years ago,
2021.
3 years ago. What did he do before that? What
Well,
Brutal Legend?
yeah, before that they pumped out because they were an indie outfit pretty much. They would pump out games almost annually, but it was very, very small games just to turn enough profit to keep them
Yeah, like the
sustained.
cave and stuff like that, like very small things, but they're not going to be the things that I'm sorry, they don't do anything for what you want as a company. Like they're not going to generate any money. They will almost certainly cost you more to keep around than what they produce.
But that's the thing. They were bought in from Phil's vision. When Phil's telling them we need you for Game Pass. We don't really care. A Pentiment is never going to make money. We need you for Game Pass. We need Double Fine for Game Pass. We need South of Midnight for Game Pass. Now what, dude, I can't imagine what those studios feel right now. Ninja Theory, a fucking excellent creator who has almost made exclusively excellent games other than Bleeding Edge. Like they're about to put out the most artsy, fartsy, unappealing game in human history. And like, you actually have to go into Hellblade wanting to not be happy. Like, that's not a feeling that most people just sign up for. You don't sign
Yeah,
into Game Pass to go, yeah, I just don't want to be happy today. And like, I'm excited for the game. I'm going to play through it. I'll at least play it. But like, even Avowed, what the hell does Obsidian have to be feeling right now? Where if we put out Avowed, okay, Tango with Hi-Fi Rush, a team of like 40, 50 people, which initially it was only like a team of 5 people for a long time until they had to ramp up development to get it out the door. Okay, that game maybe costed $20 million, assuming somewhere in that range. Avowed's going to cost $100 million. And whenever Avowed's not even going to see the same numbers that Hi-Fi Rush did, most likely. So, like, what's going to happen to Obsidian?
yep. This is that. Yep. That'll be a prediction video probably down the line. Who gets cut next?
I can't even do it, man. It's so brutal. It's so brutal because they've pretty much made In Exile, Clockwork Revolution, one of the most interesting looking games I've ever seen in my life from a debut trailer. And like Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. It's yeah, but there's still
I did warn this was going to be a very depressing episode in the comment section of the draft thing. So
yeah.
we apologize.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm like actually angry. I don't I really I'll be totally real. Uh just from a selfish standpoint, most studio closures, I'm like, damn, that fucking sucks. You know, I hope those people get on their feet. And that's sort of my those 30 seconds are where my thoughts lie with the entire situation. I've been sitting and stewing on this, knowing I'm not going to get the Evil Within 3. I know that's a selfish standpoint, but it's like,
This is this is the difference though. Games make that much more deeper impact than a movie or a book does because you're there, you're in that world, you're controlling these characters, you have control, you're able to forge the story and stuff like that. So yeah, you've invested into these two games and like what people forget as well, like, a movie is 2 hours and you're done, and that can make an incredible impact. You're talking some games 20 hours and stuff. Like they're big time commitments to then be left on a fucking cliffhanger and then you're never getting any resolution to that story. Build up, and then just nothing. And that is exactly what's happened with the Evil Within 3.
totally.
We were
Yeah.
left with like that was an intriguing the plot of the Evil Within 2 was really damn strong, I felt.
Yeah.
The characters were interesting. They did something that rarely works for me, and that's switching up the main character as well, the voice actor, and they pulled that off. Like everything just felt right. And they had an intriguing hook at the end where it's just like, okay, where do we go from here? And then nothing.
Yeah. It's fucking, yeah. And I got a few other things here that I want to hit on before we jump off this. Tom Warren at The Verge reported that Hellblade 2 is another game that Microsoft is considering for the PS5. No fucking shit. Uh, let's see. And I'm not saying no shit to like dismiss his report, but it's like, yeah, everything's coming. Everything under
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sun.
yeah. I think the only thing they'll keep locked down are their what I'll brand as legacy IPs. Like I'd be very, very shocked if a Gears, a Halo, or a Forza ever landed on a PlayStation. Everything else is open season.
Yeah. This is a long, we've pretty much covered all this, so no reason to bring that up. Um, let's see here. Matt Booty's comments that the the studio it was spread too thin.
Who's this in
Huh?
relation to Tango?
No, Booty said that the company's studios had been spread too thin like peanut butter on
No.
bread, and leaders across the division had felt understaffed. They decided to close these studios to free up resources. It's just it's so fucking gross. This one I found really interesting. Ryan McCaffrey over at IGM, he said, this is an article he did. I'll have links to hopefully all of this stuff. There's a lot, but he
Just
said
look
us
for the big, big smoke. It's just the biggest fire that you can see.
absolutely. Ryan McCaffrey said, I spoke to two former longtime Xbox employees separately, and both lamented the current state of the business. One told me prior to this week's awful studio closures, I had lengthy conversations with a bunch of Xbox founders, and we all came to the same conclusion. It's no longer Xbox, but Microsoft Gaming. And I think that's just the obvious sentiment across the board there. But
Yep.
I guess we can talk real quick about Sarah Bond's interview because this there are some really interesting details in here. You have to sit through a bunch of bullshit to get to it. And once again, to be clear, like she shouldn't be thrown into this fucking shit show. Like Matt, that is a Matt Booty, Phil Spencer response. Hey, why are you closing successful studios? Let them respond. You know, I understand like this is their vision that's not working. But regardless, she did this weird ass interview with Bloomberg, and also no fault to the interviewer. Um, just yeah. But she decided to do this interview days after shuttering their best studio. And I, we talked about it earlier. We're continually left wondering why the fuck they say anything at all. But the key takeaway, the interviewer asked Sarah, Sarah Bond, shouldn't successful games or shouldn't, well, what the fuck did I write down here? The interviewer asked Sarah, shouldn't succeeding with a hit game like Hi-Fi Rush ensure the future of that studio to remain around? And she ends up responding, and maybe I can just like include the clip in here of her responding. But she ends up saying some crazy shit and like 2 seconds later goes, "Yeah, the Fallout TV show, huge hit." And I was like, what a weird ass response. And my main takeaway after this was like, how the hell were you not prepared for this question? Like, you had to have known that taking this interview would almost immediately lead to this question being asked.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have like pre-agreed things that you won't touch on, or you'll be very light with your wording to give her kind of a little bit of leeway and stuff. And it felt like they really kind of like uncuffed and just swung a very hard-hitting question for her because you could see when she was saying the question, the face, the expressions and stuff like that. So it was just like, oh shit. And then with her response, you could feel very she was very flustered and very unprepared and stuff like that. And it's like, of course people are gonna ask that. Like it's what they want answered, and you just very much sidestepped everything. You answered nothing, you did more damage, and then you're like, yeah, Fallout. It's cool, right?
It just, yeah. She was also asked about how the PlayStation ports are doing, and she said it's early days, and then followed up with, we've been putting games on other platforms for a while. I, I understand that that's just that the wording is not right there. I get what she's saying. It's early days for these new four games and this new,
Yeah.
pursuit of PlayStation money. But man, the wording is just like, even in the most simple setting with the most simple question, all of you Xbox execs find a way to double speak. Like, uh, but she was asked, and also I'll shout out this interviewer. She asked a few questions that were interesting. She was asked about devaluing the brand by, like losing exclusives and having the more open borders approach. And she said she's focused on making the biggest leap in technology for their next gen hardware to cater to the core gamers. And I just don't really understand how that's like an answer to that question. You know what I mean? Like I don't really understand how that's and I'm paraphrasing a lot of this, but that was my take when she was asked that. The main answer she gave was like, we're creating the most powerful next gen console. But that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that you're devaluing the fuck out of your platform. Just because you have a platform and it's the most powerful, like what is there
The
to
X
play on there?
the One X was the most powerful console when that came out. Project Scorpio, guys. That didn't do anything. You even locked PUBG down as a fucking timed exclusive when it was red hot, and that did jack shit. The Series X was touted as the most powerful. It's not done anything. It's just the classic buzzwords that they love to use that they think they'll do anything for anybody. Like, who cares? The Switch is dog shit in performance, but it's eating you guys alive.
Record
So
breaking profits.
should just shut the fuck again. It comes back to it. Just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Stop talking. Jesus Christ.
One thing I do appreciate that she said, she wanted to make sure that all of your purchase games will go with you moving forward. That was her initiative with she said that was like one of the first things she did when she became president of Xbox was the forward compatibility program. I appreciate that. it means nothing with all the
It
DRM restrictions, but
On top of that, it's not something that she should really be getting a pat on the back of. This is
standard.
standard shit now. It would be like turning around saying, we offer HDMI support, guys. Fucking so you should, you morons. Like that's the whole standard of gaming. That's what's been established, and that is what the new established is. If you want to start establishing new fucking profit margins, the gamers have already established that this is what we expect to be coming each and every time now.
Yeah.
Everything we've bought digitally, unless it's tied to a server, we expect to be able to play moving forward. And even then, some people are even pissed that you know, the crew shutting down and stuff like that earlier this year. But for like single player games, like everything, yeah, everything should be accessible everywhere. Absolutely.
She also doubled down on all of their first party games going day one to Game Pass. She said you're going to see some big games going into Game Pass later this year. The interviewer followed up with from Activision, and Sarah said across the whole slate, which Call of
It's
Duty
Call of
will,
Duty. Yeah.
yeah, it'll be in Game Pass this year. Um, but at the same time, they are so reactionary that it might be going into Game Pass right now and it might not be tomorrow. So who the fuck knows? But I would imagine that it's Call of Duty that she's alluding to there.
What's worrying is if they put it into Game Pass day one, because say film, for instance, is like, we've said this, everything goes day one, and it does absolutely nothing. If anything, it just harms. Then the years moving like the following year, they're going to be like, well, we're not going to put it in to Game Pass and stuff like that. So it's going to be like a 1 year flash, and then they're going to be caught out in a lie again. Is what this feels like is going to happen. They're going to put whatever this Call of Duty is. They're not going to see their massive profit numbers because the majority of Xbox people, I know they don't make up a massive, massive portion, but the majority of Xbox people have Game Pass. So they're not going to buy the game, a lot of them, if it's just in Game Pass. So you're going to see a massive dip in sales. You're going to get hardly any PlayStation players brought over from the first year because it's still a concept that's just being tried once because they will be like, well, what if it doesn't come next year? I'm like, I'll buy a fucking Xbox to play one Call of Duty and then it not be in there every year after that. The Addicts, for instance.
Well, it's like you're gonna spend $500 on a console to play one game that you could buy on your PlayStation for 70 just because it's in Game Pass. It's like no
It
chance.
depends it depends what it comes with, is what I've said as well. They need to. There's a reason that Sony pulled ahead of them with Call of Duty as well, is because you constantly tied down content to Sony. They got it first. They got this first. They got that first. You could only do this on PlayStation. They need to be more cutthroat. Stop trying to be everybody's friends and stuff. It's a business. They're so passive when they need to be on the attack, and then when they do go on the attack, they really shouldn't be going on the attack at that point. Like it's just all like I said, mismanagement, time and
Yeah.
time again.
Yeah, it just feels like after the Xbox One era, it just seems like there's no coming back, which bums me the fuck out because like I really believed in, well, let me back up. I don't believe in the vision. I believe in the vision for me. Like I believed whenever I was seeing, oh shit, Obsidian being funded by Microsoft and Exile and all these different teams, Ninja Theory, and like what the fuck can these games be? And oh, I can play them for $15 a month. Listen, I understand. I always thought that was stupid. I always thought that was ludicrous. But that's what you do stupid shit. You do like one last ditch effort. It's fourth and fucking 50. You're throwing a Hail Mary. Like it's like we're going to lose the game if we don't do something crazy. They did something crazy. Consumers should take advantage of it. I totally do not believe that it's sustainable. I totally do not believe that if it's profitable, it's fucking bare minimum profitable
Mm.
whenever everything's accounted for. I do not believe in the Game Pass vision whatsoever. But I fucking love it. And I'm going to take advantage of it. So I bought all in. But it's like really what they should have done, in my opinion, was what they were doing with the Rise of the Tomb Raider and all that shit. Fuck the backlash. Shut the fuck up. We are a business. Go to sleep with your Twitter bitching. Shadow of the Tomb Raider also exclusive. GTA 6 exclusive. Call of Duty exclusive. We can buy you out of fucking business. It's a business. We can buy you out of fucking business. And that's always been true for Microsoft. Go fucking cutthroat. And I understand that there would be some, you know, legal hurdles. Like maybe you couldn't do something like a Call of Duty exclusive or a Fortnite or whatever for legal reasons. Like maybe that is monopolistic in some regard. I don't know the legal obviously there's some legal precedent for it, or they would have already pushed forward to some degree with Call of Duty after buying Activision. They had to submit to
I mean,
certain.
they would have looked at it though that they'd want it permanently. If they're forking out that much money, you would just want permanence, especially for a Call of Duty being a yearly thing. Because unlike a Rise of the Tomb Raider, where you could be like, yeah, we'll lock it down for a year, it still will be relevant that year after that. That's where they would run into hurdles and stuff. Because that Call of Duty that they would have got a year exclusivity would be irrelevant in a year's time.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But anyway, man, I don't have a ton else to really add to this. I feel like we've ranted about it long enough. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up, man?
I think you said it perfectly. It's do or die for this showcase, I think,
Oh my God.
that's coming up. You either show your whole hand and show that you're not incompetent fools, or it's the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and that's the thing is going
Because
into
we've
it.
eaten so much shit for so long, and this year has been so bad for Xbox fans. The whole up in the air thing as to whether or not they'll still exist earlier in the year, and then this, and it's just like you need to show the things that you have mismanaged and show that they're in a good place right now. Like this is the moment where if you're gonna lie about it here. Do a Ubisoft Watch Dogs thing. Just fucking fabricate what state these games are in to save a little bit of face and buy yourself time. Because I know that sounds really scary. It's the only thing that they can really do, in my opinion. Because there's no way these games are actually in a good state. Because they would
Yeah,
have been shown much before that. That's the only thing that you can do. Just buy yourself time.
yeah. Because it was also reported that Perfect Dark is in rough shape. That was this week as well. Jeff Grubb reported that, which I totally believe. The Crystal Dynamics, they're working on the new Tomb Raider game for Amazon. Like, what the fuck do you think? They're gonna prioritize their Tomb Raider game. That is their IP. Of course, Perfect Dark's gonna be in a rough shape. Like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me whatsoever.
Why does it even exist though to begin with? Is my question. Like who cares? Like, I'm sorry if you enjoyed like the original Perfect Darks and stuff like that, that's cool. But like, it's not an IP that has any weight, any pull. This isn't a Tomb Raider where it had that very established legacy where it will turn heads when it comes out. Somebody's gonna look at Perfect Dark and be like, oh, okay, cool.
I want to read I, I won't go too long with this, but this Phil Spencer quote has been driving me insane.
Let's hear
He
it.
said, "One thing I won't do is push against creative aspirations of our teams. When a team like Rare wants to do Sea of Thieves, when a team like Obsidian wants to do Grounded, when Tango wants to do Hi-Fi, when everyone thought they were probably doing The Evil Within 3, I want to give the teams the creative platform to go and push their ability to push their aspirations." And this obviously is absolute snake oil being sold, or maybe once again maybe the vision is just totally shifted. Maybe that was the Phil Spencer vision, and now we're in the Microsoft vision of fuck that, all these teams are working on franchises and we're putting everybody in the Call of Duty minds and the Elder Scrolls minds and the Fallout minds and the fucking Banjo-Kazooie mines.
I don't think anyone's getting in their minds. But when you think, because when you actually think about it, like PlayStation, that a lot of their stuff is just established stuff. They don't put out like a Pentiment and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
what were
because
they
they're a
expecting?
business.
Exactly. No, that's my point. Like you expect quality from them. Imagine if Sony put out Pentiment. Like, I'm sorry, it's a good game and it's very artsy, but if Sony genuinely shed light on that game and said that this is an exclusive, their fan base would be like, "What the fuck is this? Well, why is this money not being used to fund the next Uncharted? Why are you wasting time with this?"
Yeah. Well, and also like the Concrete Genie, Pixel Opus was something similar to that. That studio's gone. And that's
And
the
that's
thing,
dead.
dude. I I know I have to just completely quit getting caught up on some of this shit. But I saw people trying to compare Pixel Opus and Sony London to Tango and fucking Arcane Austin with the console war shit. And I'm like, wait, you you Concrete Genie equals Hi-Fi Rush?
Yeah, of course.
Prey equals fucking what Blood and Truth? I mean, Sony London hasn't put out a real game that wasn't fucking VR since they did like SingStar. Their actual last real game, I think, was The Getaway.
Oh my
That
God,
was
it's like
a
the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, that was like 2003. And
Oh, Jesus Christ.
yeah, but it's not comparable. These are huge fucking studios that are being shut down. And you know, you can maybe look at Redfall and like I said, I could even say, okay, maybe Redfall was enough to because there was also reports that a lot of that staff had left, that a lot of like the core talent from Arcane Austin had left because they were making Redfall and they were like, hey, we came here to make games like Prey and Dishonored, not games like Left 4 Dead. We're out. Cool, I get it. And then you shutter the studio because there's not enough talent there that actually makes,
Because
you
you've
know,
driven that talent out, for fuck's
exactly.
sake.
But it's like, okay, if that's your excuse for closing the studio, cool. I can at least understand that one. You know what I mean? And I actually before coming in here or before the Sarah Bond interview, I actually had a similar feeling about Tango, where I was like, I just don't think we know everything yet. But then after that interview, I'm like, yo, that's your chance. If you had something to say, you would say it there. Even if it was just the fact of, yeah, you know, Shinji Mikami left and there was a lot of talent that left with him and whatever this
That
scenario.
was an easy trump card for them to have just pulled.
Yeah,
Like,
even if it's not true.
yeah, just say the talent left, and it would have been more expensive for us to replace that talent and get people working on new projects than just closing the studio, reshuffling what little talent remained, and cutting the fat, and just be ruthless with it. Stop. Oh God, just feels like we're talking in circles because it is.
Yeah.
It's just again and again, and it's just round and round in circles. Like they're so fucking useless.
Well, the best one though, Aaron Greenberg last year. Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us, and our players was a breakout hit for us and our players in all key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with, you know, with the game, with what Tango built. And it's like these looking back on these quotes, it's and I mean even the Bethesda comment, I don't remember exactly verbatim, but after Phil Spencer, you know, he did the interview in 2021 at E3 where he was talking about we purchased Bethesda games to ensure that Xbox players get great exclusive content. And it's like, Okay, so that's not true anymore either.
Nope. I think anything that they've said it is all bullshit.
And then
And
yeah,
it's been like that from day one. It's just you like you said, you weren't what's the word? You weren't naive 100% and taking them at 100% of their face value and believing what they say. It's just there's a difference between belief and hope. Like believing what they say and hoping what they say is true. It's two different things. Like I didn't fully think whatever Phil was saying, all of it. Of course, it wasn't all going to pan true.
course.
There's always smoke and mirrors, but it's like you said, when they went out and did the Hail Marys and buying the things, it's like maybe they start taking this a little bit more seriously, get structure, get regimented, and get something put in place where they're able to just give us something each and every year, and they just haven't.
Well, yeah, and it's like because he said in the same, I think the same year or a year after, he did another interview where he was like, exclusives are completely counter to what gaming is all about. And it's
Mhm.
like you can't, how do you have all of these thoughts that completely contradict one another? Like
Because
where you,
he doesn't write his cards. Is the only thing I can think of. He's not they're not his statements then.
yeah, it's just, yeah,
If they're that
talking head.
180 within a year's time, like I get some people can be wrong and your
Yeah.
views can change, but that is the polar opposite of what you said. It goes from exclusives to open ecosystem. That's that's not comparable. They are the complete opposite thing. You're wanting to keep people and draw them into your thing, or you're going to them. That's two different things.
Did you see that like viral tweet going around where they were talking about Lionhead saying, we acquired them in 2006 and we shut them down in 2016. What did we learn from that experience? How do we not make those same mistakes again? It's like, oh, well, instead of it taking 10 years, it took 3.
It's
And
pretty impressive.
yeah, you got even better with it. But well, we'll drop it there, man. We can really the rest of this news for today. Like I just
That's so negative. It's
well, actually, a lot of the other news is pretty cool, you
no,
know?
that's what I mean. It's been so negative. It's left this cloud of just unenthusiasm and just like, oh man, this is so fucking draining to
Yeah.
just put up with this shit.
And I'll be completely honest, there a lot of the other news I have jotted down is Nintendo news. At this point, I don't give a fuck about speculating about what the Switch 2 is going to be. Let's just see it. It was reported that it will be announced this year, the Switch 2, but we're getting a showcase coming this June that will not be focused around the Switch 2. And also there were some specs that leaked, so we'll kind of quickly go through this. Um, It is supposedly going to be about the same power as like a PS4 Pro or a Xbox Series S when it's docked. So that's pretty good. They're talking,
That's not bad. That's not bad. Docked. Do they
yeah,
know undocked?
handheld right above PS4 before DLSS.
Hmm.
But
So a little
250,
bit more shaky.
yeah,
But
256 gigabytes of internal storage.
that was the one thing that I trumpeted that they needed to get right. But even
Yeah,
then, like, in modern get that still feels low. But for a Switch, maybe with how much you compress it and cut with specs and stuff like that. Because what was The Witcher 3 for the Xbox One? It's probably about
yeah,
60, 50 gigabytes, I think.
right.
So that's that's plenty of stuff. If that's what they're targeting for, if it's meant to be a PS4 and stuff like that. It was only towards the later half of the generation where we started seeing like massive spikes in storage and stuff like that. Where it was just like, all right, this is getting a bit ridiculous, guys.
Yeah. It's saying that the RAM is slower than the PS5 and Xbox Series S in speed, but more capacity than the Xbox Series S. should have 10.5 to 11 gigabytes of RAM available to games going by the Switch One's RAM allotment for its OS. Uh, yeah, so I mean, I think this is actually pretty good news. I mean, it's nothing here that is too shocking. I think that when you get a new console, you at least hope that it's of the same power as the previous generation of consoles from the other competitors. But
No,
um,
absolutely.
but yeah, I another really interesting bit of information here is that Nintendo was more profitable in the Switch era than all other Nintendo generations combined.
Yeah, that I saw that. That's crazy because you think of like how the Wii sold like hotcakes, and it's like opening like year, 2 year period and stuff like that. Because that's every other Nintendo era as well. They're bringing the 64 and everything like that.
Combined.
Ah, Jesus Christ! It really is. It's that will top charts, right? Because what, or has it already? Am I? I'm already like behind on facts because it was like the PS2 like sold a shitload of.
Yeah, PS2 is still number one.
I think it will take it.
Let's see. Best-selling game consoles. I think that the PS2 is still number one, but you very well could be right at this point. Let's see. Da-da-da-da. Yeah, PS2 north of 155 million. The Switch is at 140. So, yeah, it probably will at some point.
Yeah, because obviously there's no PS2s on the market anymore. That is a figure that is never moving. The Switch, because you're gonna have like the people who go out and immediately buy a Switch too, but you're gonna have them people that you always have them people that are one generation behind as well. The
Well, yeah,
people
it's
that really live on a budget, and I'm talking like not to throw shade at these people, but a lot of them are in stuff like Brazil and stuff. Like I remember seeing people when the PS5 was getting announced and stuff. And they were like, guys, I'm still playing on like a PS3. I'm looking to move to a PS4 now because in these countries it's so hard to get these
yeah.
things because they're so damn expensive and their cost of living is so much more difficult than it is in like the US and stuff. So you may see like a massive influx. It's yeah, my opinion's solid. I think it will absolutely outsell the PS2 without doubt.
It's interesting. You see Xbox imploding, PlayStation imploding, and Nintendo's just setting himself up.
Wahoo!
I mean, and they're gonna go into the next generation with that type of momentum. They're talking about not changing the Switch up much. And listen, that doesn't appeal to me. Go ahead.
That's incredible then. That's Nintendo being self-aware
Hmm.
of looking around and being like, we've done major shifts in the past and it's fucking bitten us so much. Like shunning HD gaming and stuff like that and whatever the hell we were trying to do with the Wii U. The Switch is really, really, really popular and successful. So just improve upon that. Don't overthink it. Just improve upon it.
It's interesting you bring up the HD point because I was thinking about that and like that might be a thing where the consumers have aged so poorly. We don't look back at ourselves enough and think about where we were wrong. I think that's an area where the entire gaming consensus, from the community was a little bit off the mark, where it's totally proving now that yeah, that push to Ultra HD, the most high fidelity, most impressive graphics. You look at Spider-Man 2, the I think the quickest selling, or I think in the first month it sold more than any other PlayStation exclusive. It was doing crazy numbers. And
Yeah.
then the margin was like 6%, 7% profit margin, where it's like Nintendo like fucking 40%, for a lot of their it's crazy the
Because
profit.
their budgets are a lot less because a lot of their stuff is recycled content as well,
Totally.
which I throw shade at, but from a business perspective, oh my God, they like you said, it's 40% and upwards and stuff like that because they don't pump as much in because they know that their player base doesn't really care.
Totally. Well, and it's like fucking what the president of Nintendo. You remember when they were going through that struggle? Dude ended up just taking
Yeah,
totally,
he took the pay cut
yeah.
himself. He
N-
took it straight to like the chin and was like, okay. It's just like, man, that's commendable.
Yeah, it's like that's when you really believe in a vision. When you actually are committed to, when you're like, no, we're gonna fucking do this. Like you need those people, man. You need those people. And that's the difference. Nintendo is Nintendo. PlayStation is not Sony. It's becoming that because Sony outside of PlayStation isn't as successful. Xbox isn't even a fraction of what Microsoft is, but Nintendo is Nintendo, and it's like that is their culture. Their culture is Nintendo. Their culture is gaming. And I don't know, you feel like I really wish I won. Like I wish I wanted the Switch 2. I wish that there was something. I really hope that this showcase, the next showcase, whatever, we see something where I'm like, yeah, I'm jumping in. I really, really want to be a fan of Nintendo because man, I have no faith in the other two brands.
Yeah, I think of the two of us, it'll probably be me, if anything, the jump ship with how Xbox is spiraling. Um, it may just be me that ends up making that transition because I'm a lot more like hot on like JRPGs than you for the most
True.
part. So there's a lot I would love to sink my teeth into that is only on a Nintendo
Dude, if they got
platform.
achievements over there, you jump in day one, you could probably get up there in those numbers.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's a big thing. But because to kind of link it back to Xbox for just 1 second, with them announcing that web thing and maybe a handheld, if they port the entire library and it's not streaming, if it's not locked down to streaming, and you give me a handheld in the same vein as like a Steam Deck, and you give me access to the profile and the achievements, I don't think I would buy another console off them. I think I would be happy with that. I
Yeah.
think if that's the direction that they want to go, you let me keep my library and you because that'll mean that gives them the complete ability to pivot into mobile gaming and stuff like that, whatever the fuck they want to do. But you just keep it as like a Steam Deck thing. Cool.
Yeah.
That
Totally.
I'll eat that bullet.
Yeah. It, here's the thing, at least for the time being, we know they're committed for another generation. So that's one positive to take away from the whole thing.
I mean, they say that.
Do you think they'll,
People forget how close they were to closing the doors on the Xbox One. Like 2 years in, they were just like, we're like seriously considering just pulling the plug out entirely because there's no point.
but at that time they didn't have another Xbox in development. Like they didn't have the Series X in development yet. So I imagine that this next Xbox is like very, very, very actively in development right now, like deep in the throes of getting that thing put together because they're wanting to jump early. Because they're
It's the only way that they'll make up sales numbers in any
yeah.
meaningful way by getting a head start on the competition.
It's what they did with the 360. And I will say, I will give credit. They are fucking fighting. They're trying, but they just keeps. It's the Ryan McCaffrey quote. I hate to shout him out over and over again here, but well, no offense to the guy, but like I'm using all of his shit here. But he uses the quote.
Plagiarism.
I swear. He uses the quote, stepping on rakes. And that's the perfect fucking analogy. They just keep stepping on rakes. You look at that 2023 showcase and you're like, what? This is what we're getting from Xbox? Oh shit. And then boop, rake, boop,
Yep.
rake. It's like just give it time. Give it time to get this fucking vision together. And I understand that's another thing. It should have already come together. These studios were acquired in like 2017, 2018. We're in 2020 fucking four, about to be 2025. This shit should have came together.
Yeah, yeah. My God,
But
it really
anyway,
has been that long. That's
yeah.
the scary part. We're losing each year that goes by. Where we're getting older, and
Oh,
they're still not fucking delivering.
fuck, fuck.
How much longer can you really have people wait?
Also, shout out
Realistically,
Nintendo. No layoffs, no studio closures. Come on, man. I'm gonna have to
that
buy.
is commendable. That is a commendable thing.
I'm gonna buy a Switch 2 just to fucking show some love. I think they got salary increases recently too. Just fuck yeah, man. Shout out
How it
Nintendo.
should be. How it should be. We hear hardly anything about that in the industry anymore. The
No.
last time I can remember that happening, it was complete fake BS. And that was the thing where they said that if Borderlands 3 hit, or was it Borderlands? It was one of the Borderlands games. If it hit a certain threshold of copies sold, they would get bonuses off of the percentage of that profit revenue margin. And they completely blew it out of the water. And then Gearbox were like, "Oh, we didn't think you were going to do that," and they held off of it. And it's just like, oh my God, that could have been like you turning into like the pariahs
Right.
there, but you just, yeah,
I bought
that's the
Borderlands
last time I
3.
heard that.
I bought Borderlands 3 yesterday.
Have you played it yet?
I
Give
haven't.
it a go.
I haven't yet. Is it decent?
I mixed bag. I think it's got the strongest gameplay in the series. The characters are absolutely insufferable,
Oh man.
especially the main villains. Like I really, it was very like, I don't know, seems harsh. Childish is probably as
Yeah.
like far as I'll go. They had a cool little Danny DeVito cameo thing kind of character, which was kind of funny. So I enjoyed that. But yeah, it's why it shocked me that they went and like bought them out as like a studio because it feels like I don't know how much more legs Borderlands has as a franchise, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that'd be interesting.
I have let's see. The
More
March.
depressing news.
No, this is actually really fucking cool in my opinion. Um the
Is
March
this the
se-
top 20?
Yeah, the March
Yeah.
sales data from Circana, the best-selling games of March 2024. And I'll quickly actually, you know what? Let's see. I can probably screen share this. That way the audience can see as we see. You see what we see. Da, da, da,
I
da.
gotta say, because I'm looking at it right now, I'm shocked at some of these names,
Yeah.
if I'm being 100% honest.
No
So, and
fucking
this is
shit.
to 100% clear, this is America, right? This
Yeah, America.
is so that's why EA Sports FC is so low.
Let's see. Okay. Is the screen shared?
Yeah, yeah,
Can you still hear me? I can see I'm buffering a little bit. I guess my internet's
yeah,
struggling.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I can hear
Cool.
you. So it's all good.
Yeah, that's all that really matters. Um, all right, so this is the top 20 best-selling games of March 2024. Number one, we have Dragon's Dogma 2. Dragon's Dogma 2, man. Fucking number one selling game of March. That is so damn awesome. And Capcom reported that Dragon's Dogma 2, or I think it was Circana that actually reported Dragon's Dogma 2 is the third best-selling game of the year. Are you fucking kidding me? Like this thing is about to become
No,
a breakout hit.
it just shows it's one of them things where it gets a load of internet hate and it somehow works in its favor because there's so many people that were shitting on it, and I can guarantee you, like some people were looking at it and was like, "Hold on a second, that doesn't actually look too bad." When these like big YouTubers are reporting on it, it's like, "Well, I'll take a crack at it," and they're like, "Yeah, this is actually pretty good."
Yeah, no, dude, for sure. And like I think that because it was also reported that I think Monster Hunter had hit over like 100 million lifetime sales for the franchise. So that's another example. When talking about these publishers, Capcom, another one, absolutely crushing it. And yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2, it's cool to think that we can probably see like an even bigger, you know, budget Dragon's Dogma 3 in the future to really be able to, because like if they have some sore spots in that game, a lot of them, but it's just
Yeah.
like the coolest combat system ever, man. The combat fucking rules. So hoping for more of that in the future. Helldivers 2, go ahead.
Shocks me. That's what I was going to get when you finish. How the hell is Helldivers 2 not above Dragon's Dogma 2? That blows my mind, if
Yeah.
I'm being 100% honest. Like, that just further heap praise on it, man. We're Dragon's Dogma 2 lovers for the most part, of course, but man, that's incredible. That in itself, I think that's probably the biggest W of the year that will happen, is that the fact that something that was considered so niche, even just because I doubt it carried them sales into April.
I doubt
I'm
it.
sure Helldivers 2 overtook it, but just even 1 month that you take something that was that red hot,
Yeah,
that's that's really cool.
absolutely. Yeah, and over MLB The Show 2024 as well. Which is crazy. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 at 4, Rise of the Ronin at 5. That really shocked me. I didn't think Rise of the Ronin would crack top 10. Princess Peach Showtime, number 6.
That surprises me. I didn't hear anything about this game.
Well, and check this out. Nintendo doesn't report fucking digital sales.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That could be like number 4 then. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
very well
Whew.
could be. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at 7, Unicorn Overlord at 8. I'll run through this real quick and we'll kind of just pick out the stuff that's in it. Wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. I did not even. WWE 2K24 under Unicorn Overlord? That's a pretty fucking crazy win.
When did it 2K24 come out this year, right? As well.
It came out
It was a new.
March.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Yo,
oh shit.
Atlas Vanillaware W.
They same thing as Nintendo. They don't report digital sales, which is still, I mean, that's still fucking
Oh, well,
crazy.
WWE doesn't.
Yeah, 2K doesn't.
Uh,
So, but still, I
hey, well,
mean,
nah, no, don't take the wind out of their sails. They got a dub.
but I mean, regardless,
Awesome,
even
man.
even because I would imagine WWE 2K24 probably sold close to 500,000, a million physical copies. So the fact that
Mm,
Unicorn Overlord sold 500,000 copies at all is crazy.
another one I've heard nothing about either. Like, you never picked it up, did you? You
Unicorn
you
Overlord?
you jumped, you skipped over it.
Unicorn?
Yeah,
Yeah, nah, I didn't play it.
I'm the only person in like my friends list that touched it. Even the people that I know that would probably touch it never touched it. So that's crazy.
That is wild. Hogwarts hanging in at number 10, Madden hanging in at 11, EA Sports FC 2024 hanging in at 12, Minecraft at 13, Horizon Forbidden West at 14. I love that he puts Horizon 2 Forbidden West. I think he's the only person who does that. Tekken 8 at 15, Rainbow Six Siege 16, Elden Ring 17, Mario Kart 8 18, Marvel Spider-Man 2 at 19, Mortal Kombat 1 at 20. Um, Rebirth at 7. Also was reported that Rebirth was the fourth best-selling game of the year, which is much better than I thought. So, um,
Yeah. I think I had it pretty high in my predictions, right?
I think you did. Yeah, I
So
think you did.
yeah. I think it's always the thing of where Square Enix just downplay everything they do. Like, yeah, I could have done better. It's like, for Christ's sake, guys.
Right.
It
Yeah.
sold copies, just accept it.
Dude, it was also reported Helldivers 2 is the best-selling game of the year, and without PC, it wouldn't be in the top 20.
No, that PC community is keeping it fucking fed.
That's
That's the thing that's keeping it
crazy.
relevant. Like I get like there's a lot of love for it on PlayStation. That PC community is insane. Like they have such a they take it so seriously as well, which kind of warms my heart. There's so much like role playing going on. Because
That
I don't
is
know if you
cool.
saw they the PlayStation thing happened where they were like you have to sign in and stuff with the PSN account and then they backtracked on that.
Yep.
And then somebody related to Sony posted something, um, I think, and it was like the Steam user reviews where it was positive and then it was really negative and then it started thinking and they would I think they try and make a cape out of it in game to show their win that they turned it from positive negative all the way back to positive and they're, they're gonna actually put it in the game and that's amazing if that's the case because they were like going around and being like what should we name it guys, what should we call this?
That is so funny.
they There's such a awesome community. I
Yeah.
wish it was on Xbox. It looks like such a wholesome community.
Anything else in here you wanted to point out? I think all the rest of the stuff. Horizon getting the jump is kind of interesting. But pretty
Yeah.
much everything else in here is Rise of the Ronin, like I said, that's very shocking, but pretty much standard business as usual.
Yeah, no. I would even argue like you hear all the time like live service and multiplayer titles are the be all end all. Like in that top 10, look how many single player games are in them.
Yeah.
Look
One, two,
like
three, four, five. Yeah. 5 out of 10. No, 6 out of 10.
yeah. So more than half
Yeah.
still dominate the industry on a monthly basis for the most part.
And then in the top 20, you got seven, eight with Elden Ring if you want to, whatever.
Yeah,
Nine with, yeah, nine with Spider-Man. So, I mean, 9 out of the top 20 games are fucking single player pretty much. That's
and
awesome.
if you were to rattle and eliminate off annual released stuff, that closes that gap even further. So
100%.
it's an impressive month, and kudos to Capcom, Square. I'm drawing a blank on whoever made Rise of the Ronin. It's not
Team
Team Ninja, is
Ninja.
it? Is
Yeah.
it Team Ninja? Who's the
Hmm.
other one? What's the other ninja? Ninja Fury.
Yeah.
It's not them. Ninja Fury don't make good games.
Ah,
Yeah.
they hopefully they continue to make just games in general. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's pretty much it for the news. There's news about a Tomb Raider open world. We'll wait and to see a little bit more confirmation on that.
Save that for
Um,
more positive day.
yeah, which hey, we closed out pretty positive, praising some Nintendo. We also got a canceled Remedy game, Kestrel. I don't think you and I give half a shit about them canceling their multiplayer so that they can focus in on their single player stuff.
I I didn't 90% didn't care. Hearing that it was tied to Control, I think they could have done something interesting.
Yeah,
That was the only thing that kind of had a little bit of a pull. But then I look back on it and they what was it? Crossfire X, I think they had a hand in developing the
they
single
did.
player for that. And it
Yep.
was whack. It was whack. So maybe just don't touch multiplayer stuff. Anything to do with multiplayer, just ignore it. Pretend it doesn't exist for a minute. Go make another TV show in your game. Just
Totally.
do that. Another dance.
Dude, that is it for the news. Now we can transition into what we have been playing. So that is it for the news. Time to dive into what we have been playing. And Loon, I'll go ahead and let you hit the people with what you have been checking out first, and then I'll get into a couple of my. I haven't been playing a whole lot, but I'll get into what I have been checking out.
I'll rattle three off in fairly quick succession for they were either things I'd already been playing or weren't really as long as I was hoping, especially for one of them. Finished up Lords of the Fallen, finally. Um, Man, that ending boss fight sucks.
Mhm.
It really it feels like they didn't learn anything because it was the same thing from the first Lords of the Fallen game. The final boss fight was kind of whack in that as well. So a little bit of a disappointment on what was fairly a positive experience. Still heaps of praise as to what they accomplished of fixing stuff and also adding them extra modifiers and stuff. So that was cool. Um, have you touched the House of the Dead remake yourself?
Nah.
Uh, One that I saw on like Deep Sale, like I think last year or the year before that, is a decently long time ago, and I remember dipping into it and being like, "Oh, this is okay." I guess it feels a little bit iffy because it's meant to be obviously an arcade. Was it light gun shooter? Is what you'd class it as,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So playing it on a controller was kind of weird. And after Lords of the Fallen, I was like joking with some friends, like saying like, pick a letter to help me pick my next thing, my next game. They picked T, and then pick a number of how many T games I had on like the stack and everything, and it rolled up with that. Dude, I finished in like 58 minutes. I didn't know they were that short. I was like, what the
Wow.
I like finished it and was like, that last boss was like really quite brutal, but like this was like ridiculously short. And it's like I know I was playing on like an easier difficulty because I'd heard about how obviously synonymous like arcade shooters were with like difficulty and eating your coins and stuff. But it was
Yeah.
like, wow, that's really how you're telling me it ate people's money and it was that short of a game at that time. Jesus Christ, that's so skewed. So
Yeah.
that was a definite surprise and kind of aged pretty well, to be honest. Like it feels a bit clunky, but it's charming,
Yeah, I played it all the time
goofy.
back in the arcade days. We had an arcade, or we had actually a bowling alley nearby, and it had House of the Dead, had X-Men arcade, it had obviously like hunting games, like the big buck, whatever the hell they called it. Um,
Cabela's something, probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It wasn't like it was, it wasn't loaded down like a crazy arcade with tons of shit, but it did have a few actually cool arcade games.
Hmm. Yeah, see that because I think I mentioned that in the Discord is that I think I was probably about 2 years out,
Yep,
maybe, and I would have been able to experience like arcade gaming going through like my either early children's or maybe teenage years and stuff like that. But yeah,
totally.
never really experienced them. And the final thing, Necromunda Hired Gun for like the short kind of brushing titles past. That's the one I've played. I really don't recommend this game. It's my God, like Warhammer games are so hit or miss. And you could see what they were trying to achieve, and it's just really, really, really bad. Like the voice acting's bad. The combat is okay. The boss fights are woeful. They are the most bullet spongy boss fights I've ever experienced in a game. I was there for about probably 25 minutes in one of these fights, plinking away like 3 magazines to get 1% health down. It's just like, what were you thinking when you were designing this? This is awful. So
Jesus.
skip it. It's even a fairly short game other than that as well. I think it was like 16 chapters, 15 chapters, but it just dragged on from them combat sequences and just yeah, just skip it. Don't touch it. So I'll pass the baton to you. What have you
So
been playing?
I finished Gears 2, um, and I
Nice.
just started Gears 3. I so not to spoil the predictions, but I feel like Gear 6 is gonna come pretty soon. I just have this sneaking feeling that Gear 6 is on the way. And now, well, we know it's on the way, but I think it's gonna be pretty quick. And I just want to burn through these games. I got to get through three, four, and five. Like I said, I just started three, but I think I might just drop the difficulty to easy on three through five because I played through one and two on normal, and they're not hard games at all. But
They're also fairly spongy though for a lot of their encounters and bosses.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like there was a section in Gears 2 where like there's these monsters that are breaking out of the tanks and you're in a really tight enclosed like corridor section where you don't have cover and you really can't be all that strategic. It's just kind of like do it until you get lucky and get through it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I just don't really want to because how I think about it is okay, if I end up dying seven, eight times and say I do that a couple times throughout the game, and that ends up adding an additional hour or so for the playthrough. Well, if I do that for three, four, and five, you know what I
All
mean?
them hours adds up
That's a
because
whole game.
each game is longer than the previous ones. But I'll warn you is I think 4 and 5 have like open world segments in their game,
Exactly.
so it's going to be even longer
Yeah.
than the original games. So yeah, no,
S-
I played them all on the easy myself
Oh, really?
because like I say, like unless I'm targeting an achievement list, I use that as like breaks and stuff like that to just
Right.
switch the brain off, just enjoy the story, and just put like minimal effort in and stuff like that.
And
So
Gears 2 has a good
I blitz
story.
true. Yeah, yeah,
Like really good. That
absolutely.
was the thing that shocked me because Gears 1, I was like, it's a fine story. That I wouldn't even say fine. It was just like it is what it is. But like Gears
It
2,
was a story.
right. But yeah, it's like this emotional, much more heartfelt story about Dom specifically and his family and his wife and just there were some like moments there where I was like, oh wow, this is actually pretty good. And then Gears 3 leaning into the relationship with Marcus and his dad and maybe some un I don't know where it's gonna go, but it seems like he might possibly be alive or he might be, getting the rug pulled. I really have no idea, but it's at the very least they are committing to more personalized stories for 2 and 3, which I'm digging that. Um,
It's a
yeah,
really strong story in free. I think you said you were very early in the game. It's
about an hour,
really good.
yeah.
Yeah. I think
Fuck
you're gonna
yeah.
really enjoy. It's gonna be one of them things that enters into like you're like this is really good kind of
Nice.
kind of lists.
Because like
So
where
yeah.
I'm at now with Gears is like they're just the perfect 8 out of 10 game for me. It's not overly time consuming. It's so linear, which man, playing through these games, it really makes me appreciate the level design that goes into linear games, like making each section different than the last, having moments where, you are inside this big fucking ogre. He swallows you and you're inside his damn body and you're going and trying to cut the arteries so his heart will explode. And like there's just so many cool sections where you're controlling the mech and the monster truck and you're flying on the reavers and like they're constantly giving you something new to do in Gears 2. It's significantly better than 1, I would say, at just keeping the pace to where by the time I finished, I was like, oh my God, it feels like time didn't even, the time stood still while I was playing through that. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed Gears 2. I loved that the lake monster where you have to throw the grenades in his mouth, and you got to time those bitches, throw them in the mouth. Like there's just some really cool moments in Gears 2. I will say, oh my God, these characters control so bad. Like how in the fuck?
Oh yeah. The I can't remember Yahtzee's quote. He called them like trash cans and stuff like that. They're just bulks of meat,
Yeah.
and there's yeah, you could definitely feel that it's definitely aged the worst. Because I remember when they did the remaster thing for the original Gears of War, and it was like, wow, these characters feel like shit.
Yeah, even in Gears 3, just booting that up, I'm like, yo, this was 2011.
Yeah,
What the hell is going on? This is the same year God of War 3 came out, I think. No, the year after God of War 3 came out. Kratos is a big fucking, Hulk of a human. Like, why do y'all move like that? I understand you want to make them feel
don't worry,
tanky.
it carries into 4 and 5.
That's crazy.
I
But
think it's just their design choice kind of thing. They're all just fucking roided psychopaths with chainsaws on the end of their guns. They're just bulky meat people.
yeah, and you can kind of see it because like the camera will shake as they're running and shit. Like it does seem to be some sort of design choice, just maybe not one that I understand at all, especially because I played and finished Shadow of the Tomb Raider as well. And it's like, oh my God, this thing
Yeah,
moves and controls and just
like
operates.
smooth as butter.
Ooh, every shot, every time she gets into cover without you pressing a single button, she's hiding on the wall. She's covering herself in
Mm.
mud, and it's just like it's got that Metal Gear Solid 3 vibe a little bit. where you're out in the wilderness and you're trying to use nature to your advantage. And later in the game, being able to string people up kind of Arkham style. You shoot your bow and it strings them up to the tree and it can distract other enemies to come near you. And then you go and take them down. Like there's just some really cool shit. And just the gameplay of Shadow of the Tomb Raider is so, so, so solid. Uh, the story I wasn't crazy about. I loved the presentation, ultra cinematic. Some of the big, chase sequences or the big sequences where the world around you is falling apart. Like they just have some fucking great spectacle, holy shit moments in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And yeah, I had pretty spooky certain times as well.
Yeah, it falls prey to the same thing that Horizon did for me. That the Shadow of the Tomb Raider game, that really annoys me about characters is the self-centered only I am able to do this.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
she constantly, and this is what Jonah shouts at her constantly. Will you just fucking stop? Like you're gonna get me killed. You're getting everyone else around you killed. You don't have to shoulder everything on your own. Like what is wrong with you? That
Totally.
really irks me.
Yeah, no, it
So
is very self-centered.
yeah. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see if they pick up the the design and character of her from them trilogies and continue that kind of arc, or if they're just going to completely rebrand her for that Amazon Tomb Raider game.
Yeah, I kind of hope
Because I think
so.
she has more to grow and stuff.
Yeah. I'd be
Because she's
down
not
for
the cockiness of like the first original. Like she's not. She still feels vulnerable in certain points. Like she's not 100% confident in herself still after three fucking games,
yeah.
but still tries to portray herself as it. So yeah.
I'd kind of be down to go back to the more arrogant, brash,
Mm.
like I think we're moving towards that. I think we got so much dour, sad, down and out depressing content for years and years. I do kind of see the swing of people wanting a little bit more jovial, sort of uplifting tonal approaches to games. So I hope that it does lean a little bit more silly and let her be a bit of a egomaniac, but not in the way that she's egomaniacal to the 10th degree in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but it's like it's fucking dour. It's so boring. You know what I mean?
Mm.
A lot of it. There's some cool moments. Um, yeah, but I love, love, love the gameplay so much in Shadow of the Tomb
Yeah.
Raider. It's so, so fucking fun. Yeah, so that's like a solid high, high, high recommendation for me. The ending, holy shit. When, you're just like, golly, I got a frog in my throat. You're seeing environmental destruction on a crazy scale towards the end of that game. And yeah, there's some awesome set piece moments. So definitely recommend Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Finally finished up with the trilogy.
So just a quick of the trilogy, ranked 1 to 3. What would you have it?
I love the linearity of one. I like how it's just like get me to the shit, but that's how I play all the games. I fucking avoid all the dumb shit. I don't want to do none of the dumb shit.
You want
Get
to do
me
the tombs as Tomb Raider?
get me to the damn story. Um, I would say I probably go one. Honestly, I might go one, two, three. I really might go 2013, 2015, and then Shadow. I think that might be my ranking.
For me, it's 2, 3, 1, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I really, really enjoy snowy environments, so that's really why I like 2
Yeah.
stamps it on like that. The way you go in that game is really, really cool for me. 3 has many, many flaws, but it was just enjoyable.
The
I didn't
gameplay's
hate any
so
moment.
good.
I didn't hate any moment of it. It's just like I'm enjoying every moment of it. Like, I didn't drop below like a 7 the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
So there were aspects of like 9 out of 10 moments and stuff like that, and then bordering on 7 for like the weaker moments. But and in 1, Yeah, it felt like the concept for Rise is what it felt like to me.
I might actually go
Um,
2-1-3 now that I'm thinking about it. Rise has like fucking those two puzzles in particular that I love so much. The like chandelier puzzle where you're
mhm.
having to actively move. It didn't feel like Shadow had as many of those in the main story where you're actually
They
having
cut
to
so much of it. They put it in as DLC, I remember, but they
hmm
cut it was so short of a game in comparison. So short, and then even the side activities in free were kind of iffy as well. But I
yeah.
prefer that shorter aspect than because one, this is also coming at it from a mind of like a completionist. It was a lot harder to get everything that was in one,
Mm.
and it was free for me. So that's probably why it trumps it as well.
Yeah, I like the story in one and two much better than three. I think I
Mm.
would probably say one is my favorite story. That angle of like the because it kind of had that silly nature early on, like the being
Felt like
filmed.
Lost, the
Yeah,
TV show.
exactly. Yeah, and it is like she's being filmed for this reality show or whatever, right?
Mm.
So it's like, yeah, they got some cool shit, and all the games for me are like a solid 8.3 to 8.7 out of 10. They're all great. So yeah, but that's my Tomb Raider run.
There was nothing else.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, I have two things I can briefly touch on as well. Um, Kind of had an itch after the big thing that we'll talk about. After I finished that, I needed something with a bit more action and that wasn't so slow paced. So I kind of dipped into Valhalla again, leading up to Outlaws with Ubisoft. I did obviously the main game, and I think I did the Druid DLC. So I'm just working through the France DLC at the moment. And yeah, you definitely need to play the game. Like, if you want to play all the stuff the game has that you can't play it in one sitting, it's so dense. And that's what I hope that they figure out with this Outlaws game. Don't overdo it. Like, you don't need, in every single town I go to, I don't need 53 things that I need to find.
Yeah.
Two chests is enough. That's fine. Put a new hat in one of them and put some crafting materials in the other one. And then that's it. That's all that needs to happen. Scatter your little lore notes and everything. That's fine. I'm happy with that. But like the abundance of like the classic Ubisoft map icon vomit is just they need to seriously like rein that in. But yeah, I'll work through that, and after I've done the French DLC, I'll probably take a break from it because I reckon Outlaws will probably be out by then.
Yeah, I think they're saying that Outlaws is about 25 hours.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I hope so because my Valhalla save is currently at 138 hours.
That's
I've put
so
almost
dumb.
double the time into that than I did Baldur's Gate.
And we could definitely talk about this for a side thing, but it's video game length is a really interesting discussion because people feel very differently than I do. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm very much in favor of 20-hour RPGs coming back. Please, please, Mass Effect paced RPGs, please come
Mm,
back.
no, absolutely, I miss them as well. Another title, I don't know if you don't play many RTS, do you?
Mm-mm.
So Iron Harvest 1920. Have you heard of it?
I saw the gameplay that you sent me for the show. I
Yeah,
watched it.
yeah. Um, a really interesting take on like alternate history, where Nikola Tesla makes like mechs and stuff, but it's not like completely wrote. It's all like 1920s era kind of mechs and stuff. So like these mechs have bolt action rifles that are the size of mechs, and it's really just it's a unique design choice, and it it's obviously a spin on World War One and stuff like that, and how each country, how it affected them, and how they're breaking away and trying to revolt and stuff because the basic premise for the first campaign is you're playing as this young Polish girl called Anna, and your your brother goes off to war as like a young boy. Like you're, I think, around about the thing that you saw, she was like 8 years old, 6 years old, between that time frame, very, very young. Her brother enlists and ends up dying, and she ends up growing up and stuff to about 16. So like many years pass, and the Russian army end up hunting your father down, who your brother called a coward because he was like, "Don't go into the war; it's pointless. There's no sense to it. You're just gonna die for no reason. Just let them duke it out." And it turns out that a big reason as to why he was saying that because he's wanted because he was one of the people who worked on like the mechs and everything. He has his little special glove, and that spins off her arc. Something happens to him, and she has to join the revolution and kind of fight back. So it's each. I think there's like 4 campaigns in total that touches on each of the countries to kind of shed light, and I'm about 3 out of 10 missions into the Polish one. It's a fairly. It's not only like a fun RTS. It's like fairly well done for consoles as well. It's the thing that they struggle to get right is a control scheme that doesn't feel cumbersome to maneuver on a controller.
Well, I saw the cutscenes in one of the things you sent me, I believe. They're really, really well done, man. Really well
Yeah,
done. That
for
was
an
surprising.
RTS. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're really pretty decently high quality. Very loud though. It fucking blew my eardrums off. I don't know if you heard it with audio.
I did it.
Have it turned down. There's no way that you can change the sound. It's just a set audio for when it plays the cutscene. So it's like 50% volume, and then it turns to the cutscene. It's like this shouting in your ears. It's just like Jesus Christ.
That is so funny.
So it's like, oh, okay, thanks for that. So yeah, it's nice to just play a different genre every now and then as well. Like I don't constantly play RTS. They're usually like a 1 in 20 games that I play. So it's always nice to like spice and shake that up.
Totally. I'll
Uh,
shout out real quick Crow Country, the PS1 survival horror, Resident Evil Silent Hill inspired title. I played this. I wasn't going to include it in here because I don't want to be super negative about an indie game, and I'm not super negative about it. It's pretty cool. The shooting is just so bad. It's so so bad. Like it's I will say it's cool that it is you can play it like with tank controls using the D-pad, or you can have full on modded controls, full 3D, with camera control, all that shit. And you can pretty much run past all of the enemies for the early part of the game. I'm about 3 hours in. I think I maybe have an hour, 2 hours to go, something like that. But they start littering the map with enemies. And at the beginning of the game, they give you the option to turn off enemy encounters so you can just run through it and do the puzzles and all that. They do that for a reason. It's not because it's super hard or anything like that. It's because the aiming is really, really rough, really, really rough. And I've still been able pretty much to just save all my ammo and run around every enemy, for the most part. And I'll have fun and dick around, shoot an explosive barrel, blow up a monster. They have some boss fights that are mandatory to finish to progress.
yeah.
Um, it's I don't think I'm gonna continue playing it. I love the atmosphere. I love the idea of this, set in this theme park of sorts, and there's like arcade games you can go in and play, and they all have mechanics that you actually are, shooting the basketball, you're answering trivia questions, you are playing the little shooting game. It's I forget exactly what the game is called, but you have little racing arcade games. Like there's a lot of fun touches in here that make it's a really cozy survival horror world. Um, but and it kind of blends like Final Fantasy PS1 art style with Resident Evil art style. So it's really cool. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's different. It's just the combat. And once you enter the game and you select, okay, I want to play through it with the combat because that's one weird thing about me that I guess a lot of people don't agree with is that I love tank-based combat. I think it's so fun letting the enemy get up close and I'm holding my shotgun, angling it up at their head. Bow! You take off the zombie's head, blood goes splattering. Like there's something fun about that. It really is kind of invigorating in that sense of like, I gotta let this enemy get up close to me. That way I can get my shot off properly. And this just doesn't really have that because it's going more full 3D for the shooting where you are aiming, directly aiming, like a Resident Evil
Yeah.
4. But man, it's just not, oh, it's not it with the aiming. The aiming is rough, 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 rough. But I would say for people who really love old school survival horror games, there's a lot to really, really enjoy. The puzzles, there's some great puzzles. Yeah, and an interesting little story about a murder that's probably being covered up at this Crow County park, and learning more details through phone calls, and you interact with different characters in the game, and when you go up to them, you press X on them, and you have to like continually go up and press X more and more and more because you can get more lines of dialogue, which I love, where it's like, okay, I can just quit talking to you, or I can continue trying to press for more information and possibly get it. So, yeah, Crow Country, pretty cool game, but I think I'll probably be dropping it.
Yeah, I saw it on the store 'cause I was looking through to see what you'd played as well on your profile and saw that and I was like, huh, hadn't heard of this. And it was like, ooh, that does look a little bit rough. But it's on the cheaper side, right? It's not like
20
a big,
bucks.
it's in
Yeah,
the same like wheelhouse as like Signalis kind of price
right.
point, I believe. And I'm
Yeah.
assuming Signalis probably played better.
Yeah, I mean, very different. Signalis almost felt more twin sticky in a manner of speaking. Um, yeah, I kind of prefer Crow Country. I know that's a super hot take, but Signalis is like hardcore survival horror, like the most brutal puzzles that you'll find in the genre. Crow Country is super chill, super chill. Like this, I could see this being a game I replayed multiple times, like Resident Evil 2 vibes, if the shooting was better.
If they could polish it up, if they patch it up, you could see yourself picking it back up in the future.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if it's patchable, but yeah, possibly. The shooting's like so bad that in my opinion, so bad that I you would have to completely redesign the entire, structure and mechanic
Oh,
of aiming the gun.
it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah, Crow
So that was
Country.
everything that you.
That's everything I've played.
Oh, okay. Um. So before I touch on the big anticipated thing, two more things. Was on kind of a DC kick. Gotham Knights, obviously, I finished, and I saw that they did an Injustice animated movie, and it's pretty damn good. I gotta give them credit. Like the DC animated movies don't get anywhere near enough credit as they really deserve. Like their live action stuff is kind of hit or miss. You hear very polarizing things about the Flash and stuff. Um, but this took a little bit of a spin on the Injustice story and changed things up a little bit by giving a different plot point. But for the most part, stayed the same. But it was good. It was good. Um, the animation was pretty good. It was a really short movie as well. It was only about 70 minutes or so.
Nice.
Um, and really, really dark.
Oh,
Really dark. Like seeing like because Superman obviously has to it pits Superman against Batman as it does like in the game because Superman like kind of snaps finally and kills the Joker, kills a bunch of other people, and just goes completely off the rails.
fuck yeah.
And I mean the the pivots that they decided to go in the movie didn't have as much of a payoff as I feel like the game did. I think the game handled the story a hell of a lot better, in my opinion. So it wasn't as good as that, but it was a good animated movie. If you can look at it as its own instance of a story and not compare it to the games. I think it was very good. And upon doing that, I was still in the DC kick, and I've been picking up omnibuses
Mm.
or something called the Sandman, which is also apparently set in DC, like the whole universe and stuff. Oh my God, it's so good. It's so damn good. It's so dark. It's so damn dark and crazy that they can get away with some of that shit in like comics and stuff that you wouldn't see them get away with in games. Like some of them early story threads are like I don't think I could actually talk about them because they're that bad.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, that's yep, that's you wrote that down. And it's like that jaw-dropping moment of like it's on the level of like the boys, like I've mentioned before, of where it's just like this is for adults. Like you do not give this to a kid and
Right.
stuff. But it has like the perfect blend of because it pulls from DC characters like Constantine makes an appearance, Scarecrow makes an appearance and stuff. But it's got this like weird morph with like gods and stuff. So like Death is in the series. Obviously the Sandman, or as who it's named after, I think he's like considered the god of dreams, is what it is. There's
Nice.
like really cool plot points with that and stuff. So I'm very, very early in, and I'm really excited because it's one of them things where you pick up a series because it's a really old series and it's only just received a TV show on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it or
I
heard
haven't.
anything about that, the live action Sandman stuff. And being a very new fan, you can look at it with like really fresh perspective and like enthusiasm and stuff. And it's like, holy shit, they like, because I've not watched it yet. I've literally just ordered it. It's behind me on the shelf rack thing. And you look at like who they cast, and it's like he's like really similar to the people in like the actual comics. Like, well done. I'm sure it would be a really cool and interesting story. So yeah,
Nice.
I've got oh my God, they're like 1,000 pages each. There's like
Oh,
seven of them. So it's gonna be like a long ass project getting through that.
shit, yeah.
But
I'm gonna
enough
have to check that
stalling.
out.
I finally finished A Plague Tale Requiem, and I'm sure you have many questions that you've sat on that you wish to ask.
I guess
So fire away.
I'll kick it off with just the obvious one. What you think? How let me ask you, I'll ask you two questions. What did you think and what would you score it? 1 to 10. I love scores. I'm sorry, people.
I put this in the Discord, I think, and I said I think I'm gonna probably upset you a little bit
Uh-oh.
because I would go as far to say I think it's a little bit overrated across the board. I think it gets a little bit too much praise for what it is. Did I write down a score? I should have wrote down a score.
Well, just off the top of the head, it ain't got to be anything like, you know, surgical.
Oh, I did. So overall, I said 76.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I mean, what is it what is it
Um,
rated at?
I think it's got to be higher than that, surely. It's probably got to be in the 80s, right?
Yeah, I would assume like mid 80s. So that ain't, you're not like,
Plague Tale Requiem. 82% on Metacritic.
yeah, so you're right there in that wheelhouse of kind of general consensus.
Um, so the opening was really, really strong. So you're gonna put obviously spoiler tags. So I'm free
Yeah, we'll
to
just spoil the
say
whole
whatever.
thing. Yeah.
The opening was really, really strong, picking up from Innocence and stuff and getting the ball rolling. Uh, she seems a lot more unhinged in this game, I guess is the word I'll use. Like, there are so many instances where she's so willing to kill somebody. Like it's not even a second thought. She's like, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. And she like scolds. There's so much hypocrisy. This isn't like bad writing, this is like good character writing.
Intentional. Yep.
She's constantly scolding Hugo for having that mindset. And it's a do as I say, not as I do. kind of thing. The middle of the game is so bad, in my opinion. It's so unbelievably slow to the point where it felt like it was dragging for me. And then it introduced a few mechanics which kind of kept me hooked and stuff, like when Arno joins the crew and he's able to actually fight for you. It's like, oh
Yeah.
well, this if this is gonna be if he's gonna be with me till the end of the game, this is enjoyable. I'm enjoying this. Like I'm not being punished with a game over for like one stupid mistake. And he's gone very quickly after that. He doesn't stick around for all that long. Um, so when you first get to the island, it drags for me big time.
Yeah. It
That whole section of like the intrigue is built up, and then they're still trying to like you're on the island for fuck's sake, stop trying to build intrigue further. Like give us some payoff because it's so slow.
and that island's way too big.
And the isle is exactly it is way too big, and it takes so long to get a payoff. You get like a tiny little bit of story where Arno like kind of opens up and is like, "Yeah, I agreed with Hugo behind your back that I was gonna kill the Count and get him to do it and everything." She's like, "No," and he gets like arrested and like removed from the plot, and then it just turns into like a snail's pace thing. Like nothing really happens, and then you get into like the temple and they're doing it in the slowest way of unveiling things, and it's like you need to there needs to be some excitement here. Like this isn't it didn't do anything for me. I don't know, how did you feel about it? How did you feel about the pacing of them
It
showing that there was another carrier and stuff like this, and this was a repeated thing of history?
it's paced worse than the first game across the board because it's just too big. The game's just too big in general. I like it. It's two things for me. I was impressed by the scope that the team was able to pull off and the kind of breadth of uh that sense of wonder. Like it's crazy that a team of their size was able to pull off that sense of wonder of some of the most beautiful environments you've ever seen. And a lot of that is because of how big the game is. But at the same time, like it should have been sectioned off better. It should have kept you on a straight path a little bit cleaner. It does have pacing issues that the first game doesn't have. The first game is paced like perfectly. And it's that thing where I was often conflicted between, oh my God, I'm so impressed that they're pulling this off. But at the same time, I'm so impressed that you're doing this, but at the same time, you're not pulling it off perfectly. So like combat, for instance, it's so much more, it's so much more involved. And I love the upgrading system. I think that's so fucking technically impressive just that they were able to do that and the game would account for what you were doing naturally without you having to actually allocate your points. It's such a brilliant system. Um, but the actual act of combat, while yeah, you get your bow and arrow, Amicia becomes much more of a stone cold killer, much more capable in combat. But then you'll have boss arenas where it takes you, 25 minutes to get through a little boss fight. And it's like, this isn't what the
Oh,
game is. But that's the thing where tonally and narratively, that is what the game is. It becomes that. The entire game is about Amicia slipping. And so you have to kind of engage in the slipping to really
yeah.
feel the fall. And ultimately, like, I don't know if you already want to go into this, but ultimately the entire thing is about Amicia failing. If you really look at it, she didn't save her parents in the first game.
Yep.
She obviously she doesn't save Hugo in this game,
Nope.
and ultimately, like she loses herself in the process as well. So the innocence from the first game, Plague Tale Innocence, is gone by Requiem, and the dream of even just the fact that she's believing all of this shit Hugo's saying is kind of lunacy.
Hmm.
She's constantly failing over and over and over again and ends up losing herself in the process as well. Which, maybe she kind of comes back into herself by the end of it, but The journey is definitely about her failing, I would say.
Yeah, no. That post-credit scene where what's the name I'm drawing? Sophia, where she meets back up with her. She announces that she knows where the next carrier is going to be. So what she did was she came to accept that it doesn't matter what you're going to do. It's kind of you can't prevent it. You just need to
Yeah,
damage control it. And they go even further than that because did you see the post credit scene?
with the hand.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
modern day, the
Yeah.
baby getting the macula, and it's just like, are we seeing a Plague Tale 3 in modern day?
Well, and it's like I that was the only thing that bummed me out. I'll go ahead and get into that. I really hated that
Oh,
because
did you?
yeah. I shouldn't say really hated it. I shouldn't say really hated it. I think you told such a perfect story and it was about these two specific people. I think you just closed the book. I
Oh, you would
wish
have preferred just an end of the series, yeah.
and even to your point earlier about, different people having control of the macula and different people possessing these abilities, like I wish that wasn't there either. I wish it
Oh,
could
the
have just
Basilius and Aelia thing,
yeah,
where they come out and be like, yeah, they locked this kid up from like ancient Byzantium times.
right. The
Yeah.
Hugo and Amicia story is the story for me. All the surrounding parts is like I but ultimately when she ends up having to kill her own fucking brother, like that is that's the ultimate, in my opinion, display of her failure as a protector. And but like it's not she couldn't win. She was from that first moment when her parents died, and she's tasked with taking control of Hugo, a kid who, which they even failed there, of they wanted to isolate him. They couldn't keep him isolated. Another failure. And now it's just failure after failure after failure after failure. And then the ultimate failure of not even do you just die on my watch, I have to be the one that kills you.
She doesn't. I don't know if there's another ending.
I
If
just,
you if you just refuse to do it, Lucas has to do it. She breaks
uh,
down completely,
I didn't
and
even know that.
she's like, I can't do this. And then he loads the crossbow, takes aim, and she screams. And it's Lucas that has to do it. So either or though, like that's fucking impactful because
Right.
Lucas was robbed of everything, and that he's just as much family as Amicia is to Hugo. Like he constantly says, "I feel family. You're my fam. Wherever you go." She's like, "We we'll make a home. It doesn't matter where the home is. You are my home. You're my family." So both these characters, whoever ends up having to do it, it's devastating, and it is a really dark and bleak story. There's no happy ending. There's no happy
No.
ending for anybody. Like Arno gets what happens to him.
Yeah.
It's sad. He has like a little tiny redemption arc and then sacrifices himself, and then Sophia losing everything she had as like a
Yeah.
smuggler, and then coming out and being like, "Yeah, I'm having to go like legally because I want to live." Looking at all my mistakes in the past, I need to do something different. And then I think with a third game, how they'll handle it is, I think this kind of bums me out. I think they're going to draw inspiration from Assassin's Creed of everything, of like mixing it 50-50 between following Amicia,
Oh, I hate that shit.
whoever she's going to do, whoever she's tracking down, and then have a modern day plot running side by side with it. I think that's their vision for it because why would you show that modern day and show what Amicia is going to do?
I,
You would
I
either
w-
do one or the other.
do you think it's just the fact that like they got the Game Pass back, they got a bunch of money from Microsoft, and they were like, man, if this breaks out into a huge hit, we need to have some open ending where we can come back to this. If it becomes like, if this thing does crazy numbers, people love it.
What did what did they make before this? This is like for a Acerba, this is the only thing they did, right?
They did
Is
fucking
Plague Tale?
flight sim.
Oh, is that what they did?
Dude, what a
Oh my God.
team.
Oh my God, they did loads of games. I heavily, they're not good, but they did Flight Sim, they did a bunch of Connect games, they helped with The Crew, Toy Story, Garfield, Wally, Fuel. So a bunch of games that are just not in the wheelhouse of Plague Tale.
Yeah.
So I think that they finally seen this breakout success, even if it wasn't the level of success that they got, I still think they would milk the series because it's a series that has legs still. It won a load of awards.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so glad Microsoft didn't buy them yet. Because that's what I was
Whatever,
really,
hopefully.
yeah,
Just leave
that's
them be.
I was thinking that that was going to happen after Requiem was so closely associated with Game Pass, but
Hmm.
yeah, dude, I fucking love the game. I think it's my favorite story of the generation so far for sure.
Ooh. What of the Series X PS5 generation?
Yeah.
Uh, I don't. It won't be mine for that. I don't know what would be, but yeah.
You got Baldur's Gate 3 there. You got
Mm.
let's see. Really haven't been like super hard-hitting stories yet this generation. I really love Starfield story. I know I'll probably get hung to a cross for saying that. Uh but yeah, there haven't been like super strong narrative games this generation yet. Dragon's Dogma 2 had the worst story in human history. Banishers Ghost of New Eden had a pretty good story.
I'm yet to finish that, so yeah, I don't have anything on it. What I will leave it on a very positive note though is for Plague Tale. I don't think I've ever played a game in that vein where every single voice actor did their best.
Yup.
Even the support, like even the people you bump into, you in early in the game, you bump into a group of people heading to Rome, and the head of that group, you see him for like 3 minutes. The guy's delivery is so strong. Like he could be a voiced main character in like most other games.
Yup.
Every single character, just 10 out of 10 performances. So like I know Amicia and Hugo get a lot of the spotlight, but Sophia did it exceptionally well. Count's wife, the mum, the boat guy, like everybody, like all of them did exceptional performances. Like it was a star-studded cast that really, I hope break out because I'm sure a bunch of them, like the Hugo guy, landed the Final Fantasy 16 role, I believe, as one of the characters, right?
Yeah, like the traitor or some shit. Um,
So yeah, they
but d
definitely deserve much more success.
if you think about too, like with Charlotte McBurney as Amicia, not only she had to play a character who was delusional, so at times it would be like straight up believing blindly in something with a sense of glee, not really glee, but like a sense of optimism in her delivery. And then at other times it's like total bleak, total like the most hard-hitting sad shit. So her range actually
Yeah,
in Requiem is fucking impressive because like she has to be delusional in this role and to capture delusion so well and to not make it like that's the thing where you can be a delusional character, a naive character, and it's so obvious that everything's going over your head and people are taking advantage of you, and like you're just that character who's a little
she
ditzy. Like
feels
it's
so
not that.
natural. No, she feels so natural. Back to just one thing as well, I guess, is when the mother dies and Amicia gets like her shoulder broke, whatever it is, dislocated, and Hugo he just cuts off. Nothing is going like they're trying to talk to him, and he's just bug-eyed, completely away. He's broken. And you have like a because they're collectibles and stuff. Is like you have the flowers and stuff, but you also have things that you interact with, and it gives like a little story segment. As you're just about heading into like the big hive thing, you can crawl under this thing, this hole in the wall, and she just breaks down. Like she's been holding it together, and she is like a 30-second thing where she just absolutely crumbles, goes to the floor sobbing. She has no idea what to do. And then she just like puts her hand on the desk and just says, "No, I need to keep going," and gets back up and just comes out. And Lucas remarks on it like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah," yeah," and just gets on with it, headstrong and stuff like that. Like that, that's incredible. It felt really good at that point because it showed pure. Because if she just went through the game and just did her little mutterings under her breath, that was like it felt pure weakness at that point, and that was really well done. I
And
felt.
these are like throwaway lines that would win awards
Mm.
for big name actors and actresses. Like it's a crazy, crazy performance. And I mean, I think they utilize gameplay so well to tell a story, especially, I mean, in Requiem as well, but in Innocence with the pig is always the thing I'll remember forever, having to sacrifice the pig to draw the rat so that you can get to safety. Fucking crazy. But even once again, tying into the failure of, the sandstorm at the end of the game or whatever the sand monster, whatever the fuck they were, where you have to surrender. Like you can keep on trying to fucking hit them with your damn slingshot, but nothing's going to happen. Like you have to give up. So it's once again kind of coming back full circle into that. I she's admitting failure, she's admitting defeat, and the thing wraps up the entire series. Hopefully, wraps up with a mission failed, which is crazy. You don't see that in most games. Like you can at times even like a a Red Dead Redemption 2, which I guess we'll have to throw in Red Dead Redemption 2. You finish Red Dead 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So like, Arthur Morgan, he technically fails, but he goes out like a hero. Amicia does not. Hugo goes out like a hero, and Amicia just fails.
I mean, you could say Arthur fails because he doesn't end up getting Micah, does he? He doesn't kill Micah.
But he still gets to go out like a hero. He's the one that dies.
Yeah,
Amicia has to
yeah,
sit there with her failure. Like
yeah,
the ultimate failure is the people around you not being there anymore. I'd rather go out on my sword and the people behind me get to live. Amicia just sits and has to stew on the failure. All of it
yeah. I think that
was
just shows how deep her delusion was up
yes.
until that point because that's what he says to her. Like when you're going through that little last segment, because you see like the birds and everything, and you're like, "Oh, I've done this puzzle. Just follow the birds." And he's like, "No, we did that already, dumbass.
Yeah,
Stop retracing your damn steps. Stop thinking you have the answers when you don't. Some
totally.
things you just won't have the answers to."
Yeah.
And you do the thing, and you're like, "Oh, I got this," and you swing in rats and everything, and it's just like, yeah, that didn't work, and the game just slaps you across the face, and it's like, "No, admit defeat. You're not the hero. There's
Yeah,
no
and
happy ending."
it's like it's not one of those things where she's a failure because which she did make wrong decisions, but like it's a failure because in life you're going to fucking fail. Like it is what it is, and that's something that's very rarely replicated in entertainment, where because people don't want to feel that when they're escaping. But like, yeah, dude, sometimes everybody just fucking everybody's gonna fail. Like mission failed, and you got to start back over. That's
Yeah,
just an impressive takeaway.
there's no good because usually you'll see it in some things where like you said, like with the Red Dead 2 thing, they end up going out and technically failing, but they at least accomplish something on their way out. She
Yeah,
doesn't at all. Like the closest to that is that maybe she's gonna go to these new carriers and be like, "Yeah, I've done this, guys. I got the answer." You have no answers. You'll end up probably doing more damage than good.
totally. No, 100%. There is no scenario in this game with where you look at something and be like, "Oh yeah, well that at least at least well, like what's the positive takeaway?" That Hugo's no longer suffering, but it's like, I don't know.
Friends
Well,
will stick with you till the end.
yeah,
It's the closest thing to that.
I guess that is true. That there
And
is
stop
like,
being so stubborn as well.
yeah. Oh no,
That's what
there's
Arno says to her. He says, "Will you just shut up and stop being so fucking stubborn for once? Just
there,
listen to me."
there's definitely like messages that you can take away, that you can take
Yeah.
positive stuff from, but the ultimate story is it just doesn't turn out with a happy ending, which I fucking appreciate.
It didn't feel good when the
No,
credits rolled. That's what I felt. I didn't feel good about that. I was just like, oh well, this is depressing.
totally, totally, totally. But yeah, man, anything else you want to say about Requiem or anything else you want to discuss that you have been playing?
Nope, nope. That is everything. And on to the next week. Whatever.
Cool. Well, we shall begin uh prepping for the next week's show. Get that ready to hit your feeds on Saturday or Sunday, just depending on the how long it takes to edit some of these things. But yeah, our next episode we'll be talking about the Xbox Showcase, which is going to be such a joy to discuss.
Woo.
I am actually kind of excited just because I think it'll be a fun like exercise and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
just
well, it really impacted both of us, our predictions, all this crap that come out there. So there's like, let's get that. We can get that out of the way straight away and say that, is that did put a damper on a lot of enthusiasm as to be like, oh, Evil Within 3. Oh no, okay.
well, yeah, I had Evil Within 3, I had
Yeah, so
Dishonored.
did I.
Fucking
So yeah,
crazy. But it is what it is. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. We appreciate y'all for stopping by. As always, like, subscribe, all that good shit if you feel inclined to do so. And stick with us. We shall be back at you with some Xbox Showcase predictions. We shall see you on the other side. Goodbye.
see you later.